I gotta say, Chuck, that was a whole ordeal I had there as the host of this show.
Oh,
I was
no.
thinking, is Charlie going to play the second video that follows the countdown video? So I got myself ready. It was at 3, and I was like, I'm ready to go. Here we go. Oh, she go. It's fun, but I did the right thing. That is the intro, folks. We're back another Thursday, another Dynamite review. We hope you are well. As you can see, we were at Big AO tonight. Our fearless Thursday leader has departed us once more, but an expert panel as always. Charlie, once again here on Thursdays. How are you this evening?
I'm doing good. I've had a really nice day. I went into next town over from where I live, went to hang out with a friend, went to Weatherspoons for a little bit. If you know, you know. Had a little wander. It was a great time. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm tremendous. It's been a hilarious day. I was not at Weatherspoons, unfortunately. but good times nonetheless, and happy to be here as always. Marcus, I know this is not your first rodeo on Thursday nights, right? You've made a town or two. You've seen this business up and down. So nonetheless, great to have you on. How are you, mate?
I'm doing all right, man. Heard my good brother AO couldn't make it today, and this show just don't feel right without no Purists representation on it. So, little bro had to step up. So we're doing good, ready to rock and roll.
Absolutely, we have much to discuss as always. Jana, I believe this is not our first show together, right? Because we were on that show that I believe the roster was like 20 men. We had like 20 different WrestlePurists people on, but first real show. I know usually you contribute on Tuesdays for the Raw review. As far as I know, first time on the Dynamite review. How are you this evening?
I'm good. First time on the Dynamite review, but I'm excited to be here, filling in for Mr. AO, our bestie.
Yeah. He's such a unique presence. We need 2 replacements for AO, right? You have to. You can only try your best, folks. But nonetheless, that's what we're going to do here tonight. And it's going to be a fun one because this show, there seems to be a range of opinions about this show coming out of it. We're in Toronto, right? It was a good house, great energy. We'll kind of briefly touch on Rampage, but it was like a 3-hour block of AEW, and it was interesting to see the range of takes coming out of the show, which I think will be reflected on this very review. But first, as always, folks, you know the deal. Please do like the video and subscribe if you have not already. And keep some super chats going throughout the night, right? That'll be part of our show as always. I see there's a particularly creative one waiting for us, Charlie. So with that in mind, let's get to some early super chats. Go for it.
Oh my goodness. So Kay Middleton, $5. I'm stuck inside with nothing to do. Can anyone recommend some graps to watch? I've got until Easter. This is the result of me accidentally saying on the watch along, damn, I'm surprised we haven't had a Kate Middleton pop up in chat yet.
It's all your fault.
So here she is. It is all my fault. Graps recommendations. Watch Shibata versus Kyle O'Reilly from October 2016. There you go.
I love that you gave a sincere recommendation.
It's just because I rewatched it recently. I was like, I have an answer for this.
Yeah, that match is great. It should be noted that, because of what our community is and how our community is, I just assumed that was just a bit that organically emerged. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah. Kate's in there, the usual.
Honestly. Oh, dear. And then we've got another one for right now. Anjan PN, $2 super chat. Thank you. My God, it's Charlie, Jana, Joe, and Marcus of Great Britain. This is a good thing.
The Brits are in attendance, folks. That's what we're doing here tonight, definitely. All right. Meanwhile, on Dynamite, again, folks, please do keep those super chats coming. Mercedes Moné was indeed in attendance once again, opening the show. This week, she got a Tony Schiavone intro, and it was kind of framed like an interview, but Tony just left immediately, right? She took the microphone, and Tony's like, cool. I can sit down again. And Mercedes kind of, I would say, the second half of her promo last week was more central here, right? With the Willow reference, and she got to kind of expand upon that. She pitched to a video package at one point, which was very, very neatly produced. And then we got an interesting, it wasn't physicality, but it was an interesting hint at potential physicality. But we'll get to that in a moment. First, I want to just talk about the Mercedes promo part. I'm intrigued what everyone thought. Jana, what did you make of Mercedes' second live promo on AEW?
I enjoyed it. I know, she's really hot right now on the AEW side. The fact that the CEO chants still like loud as ever was really good. And I like that she's not automatically doing what people thought she would do when she was mentioning how it's her first time back in Toronto since her mega heel turn when she debuted blue hair. So it was like she stayed babyface. And I like that she's going towards like the baby face. Everybody likes her right now. And she doesn't want to make it sour. And so I think it's good. She's holding off until she shows her mean side a little bit. I enjoyed it. And I loved her outfit.
I agree on the baby face point. Because I think she's so popular coming in. Like, why waste that, right? Like, there's something you can use that, and eventually you'll get there anyway, kind of just naturally. But I tend to agree. Marcus, what did you make of the Mercedes promo?
I thought it was very, very funny that she had a whole video package ready to go in the middle of that promo. It showed everything from Renee Paquette narrating it to all her matches in New Japan and Stardom. That was awesome, actually. I did like that detail of it. And then the actual like content of it, I thought it was all right. It was a little bit weaker than last week because her debut, and it's like I'm happy to be here, and we know eventually the happy to be here episode is going to drop in like maybe a year, 6-8 months time, right? But let's milk it for all it's worth right now. She's the hottest thing in the company. The crowds love her. Let's just keep the good feelings rolling. And then the interaction with Willow after they made the save when Sky Blue and Julia attacked, and they had the framing of Willow behind her with the steel chair. I thought that was interesting. I don't know where they're going to go with it, but I'm very, very locked into what the direction might be.
Yeah, that part of it is definitely, it's intriguing as to like Willow being that hint is kind of caught me off guard a little bit. So we'll ponder that more in a moment. Chuck, what did you make of the promo part?
I thought it was a little bit weaker than last week, but it felt like she was laying some groundwork within the division. So like you take what you can get with promos like that. Like they're gonna keep rolling her out this way. She's gonna keep cutting these promos at the moment, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. But Mercedes has never been the strongest promo, and once you got past the initial "I am here, this is me" in AEW now, it was always going to be a little bit more obvious. So I'm not going to knock her for that right now. But I thought like overall, like the presentation of the segment was awesome. Like that video package, it just made it like the presentation of Mercedes in AEW so far has been great. I think they've really nailed it. It's like wrestling fans know who she is, but the fact that they're making an even bigger deal of what she was doing before, like she got injured, I think is a really nice touch, and they should do more of things like that with wrestlers.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what you say about presentation, my fault, but what you said about presentation, Charlie, is something that I'll definitely circle back to with both Ospreay and Okada later on in the show, because this is something that they've been fantastic at since all three of them been in the company. Yeah. They've nailed their presentations all in different ways. They've accentuated all their strengths and showed different sides of them that I didn't even think was possible. Yeah. But they've knocked out the park with them. So that's something that would definitely.
And I think it's not even just presentation of the wrestlers at the moment. This is a little bit off track, but the presentation of the company overall, like their online advertisement at the moment, like the quality of it has skyrocketed. Like all their new advertisements, like the rollout they did for that Ospreay video advertising the town they're going to be at, the All In video they put out today, the new adverts they're showing for Dynamite and that, like the overall presentation of the company, like it's done a 180 in the last 2 weeks. It's crazy.
It does feel. This last kind of round of introductions for those free agents, they do feel like a more polished company right now. Now, I'm sure now that I've said that, I'm sure that Parade is about to appear in front of us here, but they do feel like a company that's more ready for these kind of acquisitions than I think we've seen necessarily previously. And I agree on all three. And again, they'll come up here and during the show. But my one criticism with this, like, I definitely agree in terms of the content wasn't anything groundbreaking, but I do feel like they could have I don't know if I'd have opened with this again. I'm sure it was a specific ratings reason, but without her having like a major thing to say, it feels like you could have put this at the hour mark and it would have given the show a different feel than last week. It kind of was, that's the one thing I would say, that's more of a placement thing than it was a performance thing. And then we got to, as Marcus mentioned, there was lights out, Sky attack from behind just as she did last week to Willow, right? Julia was there, and then Chris and Willow run them off, and then we had this sort of tease where Willow was seemingly going to hit Mercedes, and I don't know if this quite came off the way they hoped. It was interesting, as you described it, Marcus, but execution wasn't a 10 out of 10. I think it's fair to say, Marcus, right, for this little deal.
It wasn't. Like, God bless them. They tried, but the acting in it wasn't the greatest. And the framing wasn't the greatest. But we'll see what happens in the next couple of weeks with it. Because Willow having a chair and look like she's going to attack Mercedes from behind, at least how they framed it, it's like, do I really want to boo Willow?
Yeah.
But like Mercedes is also not going to get booed. So what do you do? You know?
I think they're trying to set us up for any eventuality because of like all the women in these stories. Like any of them could turn at the moment, and I wouldn't be shocked. Like if Chris turned, wouldn't be surprised. If Willow turned, you wouldn't really be surprised. If Mercedes turned, I definitely wouldn't be surprised. Like, so I think that's like the segment, it wasn't very strong, but that it's a good caveat that there is so many options they could explore with it.
I'm hoping that the fact they actively teased Willow is a suggestion she's not actually the one. Yeah, because I don't know how you feel, Joanna, but Willow Nightingale's on that short list for me of like, do not turn at any cost right now.
Oh, no, I agree. I feel like it'll definitely be one of those things where they tease it, and then she'll probably have a moment where she's like, no, I can't do something like that. Like, I'm not going to turn. And then it ends up being like Mercedes or someone else who does the heel work for her. So I agree. She's somebody that should never turn heel. She's just so good as a baby face. It comes naturally.
She's just too likable. Everywhere they've gone, everywhere they go, she's one of the most beloved people in the building. I can't boo her. I can't.
I have a pitch. So what would this is it's always interesting. So they could tease the Willow turn. Like if you have Mercedes, Chris and Stat in the ring, and they tease the Willow turn, but she doesn't go through with it. And then Stat does. She's kind of like, well, if Willow won't do it, I'll do it. And like, and then they have Willow and Mercedes as a tag team to face Chris Statlander and the debuting Megan Bayne.
I think what plays out here may be similar to what you just described because Chris is taking a lot of falls.
Yes.
And clearly the point of what happened with Willow here was, I think the idea is like, that's kind of Stokely's influence, right?
Yeah.
And I think Chris is going to be the one who actually kind of is affected by that and changes her ways to try and get some wins. So I actually think what you described is similar to what we're going to get. Mercedes and Chris Statlander is like, I mean, that's a big one, right? That's one of the, that's one of the, I think if you were doing a list of, if you were doing a list of Mercedes matches you want to see in AEW, that's got to be near the top. So
yes, absolutely.
That is exciting. Segment itself was okay. Like the promo part of it, I was pretty positive on, even if not a home run. Pretty positive. The teased physicality was, they can't all be winners, right?
Right. Like you can very much tell it's two young wrestlers in there, like doing this segment. You can very much tell.
Yes. I love Willow Nightingale. That's not her natural skill set right there necessarily, but it is what it is.
God bless you.
Yeah, absolutely. It appears we have, as always, Mercedes center of conversation. It appears she sparked some super chats. Chuck, what's the chat saying about the first segment?
Let's have a look. So Jizzle, $5. Thought they laid a lot of groundwork for potential directions for all the women. Anyone could turn and it would make sense. Yeah, pretty much what I said as well.
Yeah.
And I love that. I feel like we saw so many women yesterday. Yeah. And it was just like, whoa. It really also showed how, like, in a 3-hour show, not to throw any shade, but you can have that many women showcased without feeling oversaturated. Because I feel like that's why a lot of the fans are like, oh, you guys want to see all these women, it's going to, like, mess with the show. And it actually didn't. I feel like it was a perfect balance.
To be fair, you're the one of us that's qualified to discuss 3-hour wrestling shows too. You are the official Raw pundit.
God bless you,
absolutely, respect.
Now, and on top of that, it's like they have all different motivations and they're not one-dimensional characters like you've seen the last however many years in AEW.
It's fresh from seeing all the same people because you're giving all these women different chances and you're seeing different styles, different characters that some of them are usually like delegated to do Collision or Rampage. Now you're having them on a bigger stage, and it was good to see. Honestly, I feel like it kept it fresh.
I don't disagree with you at all. I think it's a really good point. But same with seeing fresh characters with Sky Blue involved in a storyline is quite funny to me, because if she was like the one to get the bookings, but I understand what you're saying completely, and I do agree.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we'll talk about it a little bit later. We're not going to do a whole Rampage review, folks, but it was another good night for Sky Blue, in fairness, right? I know she's like, I feel like I've reviewed 100 Sky Blue matches on Thursdays, but like, she had a hell of a performance, I thought, last night. So it was a positive night in that regard.
Absolutely. Collider Clint, £5 super chat. Thank you for that. More promos equals pain. Oh God. Dreadful table setting for our arrival. Turn Willow heel when I'm calling the police. I disagree with the first half of that. I co-sign the second half.
I big agree on the second half.
I don't agree with the first half at all. I feel like she's so good at being heel that it's kind of like a bit of a shell shock to see someone like her playing I'm so happy to be here, guys, because we're used to her being like this cocky, bitchy character that is just like, oh, she gets under your skin because she's so obnoxious. Like, am I a fan of her babyface promos? I'm not the biggest fan, no. I prefer her heel work, but it's not pain. This girl got paid as much money as she did for a reason. And I do agree, turn Willow heel and I'm calling the police. I feel like that never needs to happen.
Absolutely
not anytime soon.
I will sue all the wrestling if that happens. Tony, I am in your city. If you do it, I will see you.
Oh, God bless. All right. Kyle, 50 pesos. I remembered this time. Not sure I like teasing simultaneous Willow and Chris heel turns against different people when they are already facing the Spooky Girl duo. It's dimension in the story. They're damned if they do, damned if they don't, because people will complain if they're not doing anything interesting with the women, and people are complaining that they're doing something mildly interesting with the women. Like, you can't win them all.
And besides, like, the most interesting part of the whole story is Stats taking falls to people that Willow's immediately beating.
Yes.
Like Riho beat Stat the week before Big Business, and then Willow beats her at Big Business. Willow beat Sky Blue. Chris has lost to Sky Blue, 3 times?
She's taken the fall to her several times now,
Yeah. So that's going to build some frustration at some point.
You can't just have storylines out of thin air. Then it's not good, because then if you have that, then you're going to be like, oh, this storyline came out of nowhere. And then you're going to be like, huh? This is a bait and switch, obviously. I'm seeing the Willow and Chris situation as like Bailey and Sasha when Sasha came back in 2019. And Bailey was like, no, we can't do that, like thing. And then she eventually was the one who was like the aggressor the whole time and ended up turning on Sasha. This could be just as good as that, and I feel like it can be, especially with Chris. I want to see her in that.
This is the one of those comments where it's like, we'll circle back to this when the angle is done, right? Because what you just described, I think is very compelling, would make sense. It could be a mess in a couple of weeks. I don't know. Like, we need to see what. We don't know what the first Mercedes match is, right?
Yeah,
it's true though, right? Like, it's the thing. I know this is ridiculous. I'm saying this in the middle of a Dynamite review show that we do every week, but it is the issue with doing week to week, like conversation, right? Is like, they could announce the first Mercedes match is like an 8-woman tag, and I might be like, yeah, it fucking sucks. Cal was right. or the Willow and Chris part might be moving on now. They did do the street fight last night, so we'll see in that regard. But yeah, I don't know.
I think some people are also confused because a lot of Willow and Chris's dynamic has been developed on Rampage, and not everyone watches Rampage every week. So I think they need to do a better job establishing that on Dynamite. Like, just give us a recap video. There's nothing wrong with doing that in your product sometimes.
Yes, and also, I love me some Stokely Hathaway.
Yes.
And he appeared on WrestlePurists literally yesterday.
Yes, he did.
However, he's...
Go watch that.
Absolutely. Please do it. But because of the story they're telling where he's like a bad influence on Chris and Willow, I think they should try their best to just rein in his comedy slightly. Like, you know, he had a moment on this show where he like stared down the camera and shrugged like he was on Cartoon Network or whatever. Very, very, I love Stoke. He's hysterical, but just for a while, I would rein that in, because the idea is that he's a bad guy, right? Like, he's influencing in a bad way. So nonetheless, we'll proceed. We'll get into this another time.
All right, last super chat for now. Brainbuster 199. Joe, any update on Bob's medical?
I haven't got. You have to ask Monty. For anyone unaware, on LNG 100, our very own Bob O'Neill was. It was announced by Montel that he'd signed for WrestlePurists pending a medical. I don't like his chances, to be honest, but I haven't heard anything yet. So stay tuned. Maybe he'll tell us on the late night grin tomorrow if it fails. We'll see. So
we'll see.
Time will tell. Absolutely. All right, folks, please do keep those coming. We appreciate the support thus far. Backstage, Kazuchika Okada alongside the Young Bucks. Tremendous skip. Paul Marvez is just getting. They've found something with Marvez, right? This is going to be something we go back to. It is. This was good and neatly set the stage. I should also note the show did open with the guys arrive into the building, which I always love that deal. I always love that deal.
Okada with his Ferrari.
Oh, that was hard.
That was tremendous.
I saw someone's tweet. Like, this is slightly related. I saw someone's tweet. It was just like that Ferrari was just parked outside the building, like with no security the entire day, which is crazy.
Ain't no way.
Nobody's gonna mess with Big Cat. Come on now.
Yeah.
No, man. No.
He's gonna come out and drop kick him.
Come in as a baby face. Honestly, him just going in with the Young Bucks has been so cool and so funny.
Yes.
Such a jerk.
It's so fresh, and it feels like it's just much more interesting. And here he was in his first singles match for AEW, right, as an official AEW wrestler. Of course, he's wrestled Forbidden Door previously, challenging for the Continental Championship against Eddie Kingston. And as expected, he did indeed get the job done in an interesting match. There's that word again, Marcus. Interesting, right? I was a little disappointed by this, but I know there was a lot of praise for it too. I liked it more on rewatch. One of those though where I think they're such good wrestlers. There's a better match in them. I think that's kind of obvious. But I'm intrigued what everyone thought nonetheless. Chuck, I think you were a pretty big fan of this, right?
I was on first watch. And then I realized that was watch along tags, and I rewatched it on my own. I was just like, "Oh no!"
God bless the watch along tags.
Yeah, God bless the watch along tags because of rewatching matches. Sometimes it changes the opinion, but I still liked it. I didn't love it, and I was like, "Wow, they had a 3.5-star match on the opening match of Dynamite. That's not what I expected from Okada and Eddie." Like, I don't know. It just felt like it didn't really click. Like, there was just something slightly off about it. Eddie looked a little bit off in this match. Like, I think they've definitely got potential to have, like, an all-time match in AEW. This wasn't it. That's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. Just means we can come back to it down the road. I don't know. It was, like, okay for what it was, which was...
Yeah, it's an expectations thing. Like, I agree. It wasn't a bad match, but it did feel like they struggled to gel slightly, right?
I don't know. I feel like on Eddie's side, a little more.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Like I'm a huge Eddie Kingston fan. I didn't think it was his best performance by any means.
I think also you could see that even he wasn't really satisfied in his promo that he cut afterwards. I feel like some of the emotion in it was real because he just seemed off. Like his whole vibe seemed like not where it usually is at.
Yeah, I agree. And it was it felt like they were wrestling in a weird way. It felt like they were wrestling different matches, Okada's trying to adjust to US TV and he's really wrestling a pretty traditional TV match. And Eddie appeared to be wrestling a G1. He was attempting to wrestle and it sort of had this, it had a strange dynamic. Marcus, what did you go for it? Go on, Jenna. Go.
Oh no, I said it was just like awkward a little bit.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Marcus, what did you make of the match? I'm intrigued.
I liked it at the time because of the environment and the crowd was hot for it. And it's Kazuchika Okada and Eddie Kingston on my television.
Yeah.
Then I watched it again this morning. And I was like, it was aggressively all right. Like, we know how Okada matches usually go, where he builds, and the last 5 minutes he goes insane. And then Eddie kind of tried to wrestle like you said, traditional G1 style. But I did like Okada as a TV wrestler here. I did. And I have to give a shout out to his emoting in the entire match was top tier.
Yeah.
Like that man couldn't wait to get on US TV and start showing off his facial expressions, man. Like he's taken to American TV as a character and his presentation so well. And then the Bucks in Gorilla with Tony Khan was so funny.
I popped so huge for that. It made me laugh so much.
Yes,
Yeah.
and when the pyro was going off and Okada was confused
Yes.
as well. Yeah. That was
Like,
good.
I tweeted about this during the show. I was like, my brother walked in on me like watching the show and saw Okada's entrance. He was like, "Is that Jesus?" I'm dead serious. He walked in, he's like, "Mom, is that Jesus?" And me being the good big brother I am, you know what I told him? You damn right that's Jesus.
He makes it rain, so
Exactly.
Absolutely.
That makes it rain.
Yeah, and
Born in the manger.
you know, I do think it's worth kind of singling out his performance. You know, Jana mentioned that it wasn't Eddie's finest. I do think it is worth crediting Okada for those things that Marcus mentioned, right? Like great heel mannerism. And we've seen these things from him before, but it's just the format really shines a light on it kind of in a different way, right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like centerpiece of what he's doing. It does feel like he's going to have to adjust to, and this is a hilarious sentence because 16 minutes is not a short match,
Yeah.
but like, it feels like he's going to have to adjust to that being like an important match length in AEW TV.
Yes.
Right? He wrestled this like it was just like, we'll get there in the end. It'll be fine.
He's kind of having a similar issue Jay White had of not getting out of first gear quick enough. Because I feel like Okada didn't really get out of first gear in this match until like the last 3 minutes, which is kind of crazy for an AEW TV match, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought the first part of it, you could tell that they were trying to figure out the right match. Yeah. I do think in the middle there was some good stuff, and you saw like they figured the weird. It felt like they missed a bridge in the finish, right? It felt like the finish kind of just arrived.
Yeah,
and I saw a lot of talk online about Okada should just kind of squash Eddie, and it felt like they were stuck between two pitches in that regard because he did win like emphatically, right? Like he hit his finish, pinned him in the middle. 1, 2, 3. But there was also, it didn't feel that emphatic. It didn't feel that conclusive because he went to the eyes at one point. They did go quite a long time.
Yeah.
Just kind of stuck in between two different matches, I thought. Jana, anything else on the opening match?
Oh, no, I agree. Like I when I went to take a shower, I was kind of like looking through everything. And like, even when I was watching it on the watch along, there was something that just was like, it wasn't clicking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe it is because Okada's so used to like that every match essentially that he's been in has been like this big, like, oh my God, this is a classic. So maybe it was that. I just feel like the chemistry just wasn't like, I don't know if maybe it was like the decision of Okada winning was like planned out and everybody knew about it, or maybe it was like a quick, oh, he's gonna win. It just felt like I agree, two different matches that they were fighting.
You know what Eddie's work here reminded me of? And I really hope this isn't the case because I never want a wrestler to be injured, but it's kind of similar to the way he was working just before he went off for his hernia surgery. Which I'm really hoping that that's not the case again. And if it is, even I hope the best for him. But
was like weird. I agree with like I feel like overall he was just like it wasn't.
There was just some in.
My hope as a man that owns much unfortunate clothing, my hope is it was just the pants for him off, dude.
Yeah, the pants was kind of
was something.
I spent at least 70% of my first watch of this match just being like, Ed, this is a predicament you've got yourself in. He was trying not to step on the bottom of his
he was trying to be fast and forward. He tried a little look out. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. This time it really didn't.
But I actually, being in truth, I think Chuck's on to say, unfortunately. Hopefully King as well, because he did look like he was feeling a little bit physically. Look, his output recently has been much more intense than any point in his career, basically, right? He takes those belts very seriously. He's been having some, the Continental Classic, the G1, it's been a crazy stretch for King. So we'll see what kind of happens with that, folks. But,
before we move on to the next segment, speaking of the Continental Classic, people are discussing the Triple Crown in chat. So I feel like we should touch on it a little bit, just because of it is prevalent to the fact Okada won. They've broken up the Triple Crown. What are your guys' thoughts on that being broken up? Let me see if I can find a relevant comment to throw up onto the screen.
It's a good question.
This one is there we go.
I like it. I like it.
You like it? Okay.
I like
I'm
it because, So you see how we have in WWE the unified titles.
Mm-hmm.
To me, it just feels lazy. Break these titles apart. Let different people get in the mix. That's how you build different stars. That's how you build different people up. That's how you bring people to get more what's the word, like recognition with the fans. Because you don't want to see just one person holding all the titles. Like that annoyed me when Roman had both titles. Because I was like, you should have had so many different people. Then when they introduced the new title, you're like, oh, look at all these matchups. So I like it. Let everybody get their own niche. Not everything has to be cohesive all the time just for the sake of saying I have all these titles, even though I did like when Kenny Omega had all the titles. So I'm being kind of
It was hard.
but it works out well when you have different people coming up, because then you get exposure for new people who you might have been like, damn. Like I could see Daniel Garcia going for one of those titles.
I agree.
And that's somebody who's been itching for that break, and that could be his break.
Yeah, I agree. Marcus, what do you think of this title situation?
I was kind of intrigued when they did the whole Triple Crown deal with the Continental Classic. Now I'm like, yeah, it's fine to split them up. Just the Continental belt going from Eddie Kingston to Kazuchika Okada to possibly Pac at the pay-per-view being the match. Well, probably Pac being the pay-per-view the match. Like that's a pretty damn good lineage of title holders and title defenses. And with the Ring of Honor title being involved, like he's never there at the shows anyway. Just split the belts up, put it back on Ring of Honor. And the politics of New Japan Strong, that's a whole different can of worms. So I'm not really sure about that whole situation right there, especially with Okada going for the Continental belt and splitting it up immediately. So that's just what it is. I'm fine with one belt. I'm perfectly fine with it.
I honestly, them splitting it up makes sense to me because I think they want the Continental title to be another world title in AEW. And it's a bit of a struggle to do that when you have a New Japan Strong title tied to it. No knock on New Japan Strong. I enjoy a lot of the shows they run, the shows that they ran. And Ring of Honor needs that world title. Like, it's actively affected the product from people I've spoken to that keep up with it on a weekly basis. I'm not going to pretend I sit and watch Ring of Honor every week because I don't. Also, I think in retrospect that Eddie shouldn't have put the other two belts on the line in the Continental Classic. He should have just entered it as a double champ looking to complete his own Triple Crown. Like, doing that to pop Eddie, it's cool. I liked it. It was great for like the couple of months they did it. But specifying they were making a Triple Crown is what's fucked them over here and why people have this perception.
Yeah.
They definitely should have specified it. It's
not something that's bothered me because, to be totally honest, when it was described, it felt like something that didn't have a lot of planning that went into it.
Yeah.
And I kind of internally was just like, that's not going to be a real thing. Like, because what you said, the New Japan Strong part, right? Like, that was always the thing with Dragon Wrestling with the Triple Crown. Like, Bryan Danielson's going to be allowed to make those towns, like, and go and work, whatever show it may be. Like, it never seemed likely. And as you mentioned, Marcus, I'd imagine there's some political elements with Okada specifically. But it's just, I honestly think it was a thing they wanted to do for Eddie. I think the workaround is what Charlie just mentioned. That should have been his goal. Triple Crown, the Continental belt should have been what they were fighting for. But
Tony shouldn't have spoken about it for 25 minutes in a media press. Like, that's where they messed up.
Just let the Continental Classic be where you defend the belt at the end of the year, like they said they're gonna do. And that throwing the Ring of Honor and the New Japan Strong titles in the pot was a little extra. That was just kind of.
There's better ways to do brand partnership synergy. Like that was it wasn't the best. Like, I don't know. They've done a better job with the brand partnership synergy with just showing these clips of Mercedes wrestling at the New Japan Strong shows than including the title in the Triple Crown. In my opinion.
One of the very first things we said when we did the panel of reviewing the participants, when they said they're going to throw all these championships into the pot, we're like, okay, this guy can win it because he'll work Ring of Honor. He can do some New Japan stuff. Like, we felt like it was limiting the pool of winners already off the rip.
Exactly.
So just rip the Band-Aid off. You know?
Yeah, I agree. I do want to quickly. I mean, I think it's fair to guess if it was like Eddie's going to drop that Ring of Honor belt in a couple of weeks here, right, to Mark Briscoe. I don't think that's saying. I don't think Mark can lose that match, really.
Nope.
He better not lose that match.
It's the anniversary of Jay. It's the anniversary of Jay winning the world title.
He has to win that match. It's I guess the question is, Charlie, you've been brave enough to come on this program and ponder an Eddie Kingston heel turn, or Spiral, a return to the Mad King insanity of yesteryear. Do you think that may be what they're doing, or do we think it could be that Eddie's going to take some time? Because I mean, if he drops, then he's left with one belt within like 2 weeks, right? 2-3 weeks that will happen. So, what do you think? That may be something that might be on the horizon here, Chuck.
Yeah, I think that it could end up being a combination of both, where he takes some time off and comes back like fully like Mad King and like revitalized through that. I don't think he's holding on to that New Japan strong belt very long either. He won't drop it at Windy City Riot because of the type of match they're doing isn't a title match, but I think he's losing it to Gabe Kidd in May at the next show. Like, I think that's where that belt's going, and it makes sense as well because of obviously they've got a like history together. They had that first match that didn't that went to a no disqualification. Well, technically the second match, but you know what I mean. That went to a no DQ earlier this year. But I do think we are getting the Mad King back, whether that be straight away, whether he takes a month off to relax and recoup. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
He should take a break and come back.
I think he should take some time off as well.
I don't know if he came back too quick, but go ahead, Donna.
Oh, no. Go first.
I was like, I'm not sure if he came back a little too quickly off the hernia. I'm not sure how that worked with the timing and everything, and he just kind of wanted to get in what his plans were and establish the belt real fast and then drop it and call it a day. But please, Eddie, if you are hurting, bro, get some rest.
Right.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say something similar to you, like, because I see like when they post like, oh, this wrestler is gonna be at every show, and it's like, I'm gonna do every house show, every Raw, every SmackDown, everything. Wrestlers in general, please do not overwork yourselves. Like, we see
I'm a big advocate of that.
Your health comes first. Your health comes first. Like, you're not gonna get an award for working all these shows. You guys gotta put yourself first. You guys could be healthy, because then you have moments where it's like, oh, I'm hitting the paint too hard, I get hurt. Now I'm missing a big.
Yeah, it's like, as much as I love Kenny's title reign, he was physically held together by duct tape and silly string.
It was scary. Yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things that I think we get reminded pretty regularly how common that still is in wrestling, right? It's and with Eddie in particular, I always think it's what we have to always remember. Like, he's been on TV for just coming up to 4 years now, but it's like there's a lot of years behind Eddie, right? Like, there's been a lot, absolutely, and there's been a lot of years behind Eddie before that. I remember when, like, just before the pandemic, I remember when he would talk about, I've got like 4 years left. I remember people being like, all right, bro, you know, like, we'll see how you last. And they never could have known what he's gone on to do. So hopefully he is doing well, and we still have some years left with Eddie Kingston. Okay.
Absolutely.
Pac confronted Okada afterwards. What do you reckon, folks? Dynasty for that one?
Yes.
Run it.
Dude, that show.
Oh my God, that was so good. I think we all popped on the watch along when.
Yeah, we popped huge.
Well, I wasn't on the watch. I dropped out my damn chair when I seen them come out. Can I give a quick shout out to the presentation of the entire match from Renee doing sideline reporting when everybody come out?
That was really good as well. Yeah,
to the pyro.
I love that.
That was great. That was awesome.
I feel like pro wrestling, with the changes in production in general, they're bringing the sports into sports entertainment.
Absolutely.
And it's actually working. Like, I like this whole thing. I think I was saying it yesterday with Charlie and Alexia and Rob, of how, like, when you're sticking to the same formula just to be safe, people can recognize that and it becomes boring. But when you're doing like production changes that you see in AEW and WWE, it's like, whoa, like, you're actually putting effort, you're making a change, and people notice that.
Yeah, it's one of those. I think wrestling TV has been so stagnant for so long in production. It's great to actually see changes, like you mentioned. It's not the kind of thing that, like, when we review a show like we do here, it isn't necessarily a big talking point, right? But those things add to the presentation. Renee having that little kind of setting the stage while Eddie made his entrance. And even at the pay-per-view, they did that, right? Where they had the ones backstage where the guys were like warming up. It really does. It gives it a certain prestige, I think. So, yes, I agree completely. Chuck, it appears we have some super chats. Take it away.
Sure do. Right. Modest King, $4.99 super chat. Thank you. My issue with Mercedes so far is she works best for me in the ring, and the can she trust Willow feels off. they could have added more depth. I think that's meant to say. That's fair.
Yeah.
But also, we're 2 weeks into a program, so
I did see that our friend Modest King immediately apologized for doing a typo in the super chat. So
it's all good.
Yeah,
So,
it is what it is. We appreciate it nonetheless, man.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Kyle, 20 pesos will pop huge for Megan versus Mercedes. The bumping.
Oh my god. The selling from Mercedes is gonna go.
Yeah, she's great at those matches. Like working with Monster Hill, she's always been great at. Like, there's been a lot of talk recently about kind of the Nia kind of resurgence as of late has been a big conversation. Go back and watch Mercedes matches with Nia. They had some really good matches back in her first run, you know. So yeah, that would be killer, I'm sure.
I like it because I love when they don't go the whole because this woman is bigger, she's automatically gonna like power through. Like I like when it's like David and Goliath and they're both just going at it and it's gonna go crazy. I love that. I'm excited for that.
Absolutely.
It's good shit. It's good shit. That is a match I do want to see. When I saw this is someone said in chat, is there any proof that Megan Bain is actually signed to AEW? She was signed to AEW before she went to Stardom. Like I'm pretty sure that is a report that came out like a year ago.
Out there, yeah.
They had fans before her knee injury.
Yeah.
Too, so.
I do get the kind of skepticism because it has been one of those weird stories that's kind of like it feels like it was said and then it just has vanished again. But everything I have understood is that she is signed.
Yes.
That may be misunderstood. But that's what almost all of us have been pretty like believing of for a while now, right? So we'll see.
We will see. Caden Lee of the Performance Center of 199, thank you. Quite frankly, for Okada, Eddie was unfortunate. I can't knock you for having that opinion.
I don't disagree, bro.
It was an acquired taste this time around.
Like, it's not a view I would do, but it is what it is.
It happens. It's one of those things where it's like it's unfortunate the timing. It's his first singles match on TV. You'd have liked it to be a home run, but like it's going to happen occasionally, especially as there's an adjustment period. But I'm pretty sure they'll be fine. I don't think the Pac match will have the same issues. I think they'll be fine with that.
I think that Pac pumping for Okada to be. Got it. We'll get there.
The Rainmaker is going to be gnarly.
Everything else about Okada's presentation has been a home run. So like him being a single or a fly out, whatever.
Absolutely,
it is what it is. So Jizzle $2 super chat. Both women's matches had big viewership bumps. Those are things I love to hear.
Wonderful.
That's very cool. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to look into that at some point. We don't talk about ratings a whole lot on this show, but like it's going to be relevant. People are going to bring it up, and it's cool to hear that the women are pulling in the viewers. It's really cool.
When you're presented as big deals, people will watch.
I would like to note too, because someone literally just messaged me about this. Shy-Town Spurs just put in the chat the Red Velvet Queen Amanata match that I believe is airing like now on Ring of Honor. He's like apparently that there's been some good stuff in that tournament. I think the other semifinal is a cool matchup too. I want to say I can't think of it. I think maybe it's Mercedes and someone. Mercedes Martinez. That is.
Billy
yeah. Could you imagine?
Mercedes Martinez? That'd be crazy.
Yeah, Billy and Mercedes.
Why not?
Yeah, she's just stressing on Honor Club the whole time.
One more super chat before we move on. Please do keep them coming. We're very appreciative. Anjam PN $2 super chat. I got bullied for how I pronounced this last time. Terramana? Is that how you say
that's
it?
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Or Wheatley American vodka. # Mana Better.
You feel
I'm a tequila girly, so there you go.
What is Wheatley? What the fuck? What is that?
This is the sponsored vodka for Cody Rhodes.
Really?
Let me send you the post because it's really fucking funny.
Yeah,
and the way they've edited Cody's arm is he's out here like he's Elastigirl. It's very good.
It's like an album from 1997 is what it looked like.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
Thank you for sending that because I forgot that post existed and it's made me laugh all over again.
I was thinking I must have missed this bit, and obviously I did. There you go.
It's so quintessentially Cody Rhodes. Like it's not even funny.
Oh my god! I've just seen it. Let's see if I can. That is unhinged.
It's horrendous.
You're right. That is very Cody Rhodes. Very Cody Rhodes.
God bless.
All right.
Keep the super chats coming. You guys have been
please
great
do. And like and subscribe and all those good things. All right. Swerve Strickland backstage promo and said he had an open challenge later this evening, which little did I know what was ahead of me as he said these words. I don't know what I expected, but we'll get to it. That was an event in itself. But a nice little backstage promo here. Did you see it? Confused Boss fan Montel just no idea, no clue what's going on.
He was being very spiteful in the watch along chat as well. It was quite funny.
Monte's the king of being spiteful when it comes to everything. So
he's a very aggressive fella, very aggressive. Yeah, you got to be wary when Montel's around. But nonetheless, this was followed by a second Mercedes sighting. This was the segment I referenced earlier where Stokely had like that closing shot where he shrugged at the camera. This I will say, and this is not. I don't mean this is like a super negative because honestly, but this was like a very Raw rolls on segment right here, wasn't it? Like the way she like walked into shot, and it's whatever. It's not something that bothers me. AEW's always been a place where like the top stars just kind of play the music they want to play, basically. It was pretty well executed. It's just the formatting stood out here to me. It was. Jana, you're the Raw expert among us. This definitely felt like something you may review on a Tuesday at some point, right? The way this was like framed and felt,
I
it was
know.
an interesting segment.
When I was watching it, I was just like, because they always have the person who walks on, and then you're just like, okay, girl. I was like, where'd you come from? But I like the whole that I like the part where Stokely tells Willow, he's like, oh, well, you did break her ankle, and she's like. Stokely, because you could see that that's something that still is like bothering her, and it's funny. Like I agree with you saying that Stokely should. I feel like as it gets closer to him, and maybe Chris, like joining forces and them both turning here, I feel like he should dial back a little bit on the comedy aspect, because this one he was just like, it was like ditzy. He was like, you broke her ankle.
Exactly,
and then in Disney, you'll have the people like, ha, 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 in the background. But I liked it because now it's showing how Mercedes is like, she was weary of her with the chair, but now she's just like, girl, back up. Like, stop.
And these segments, I definitely think there's value in training the audience that just because you've already seen someone in the arena, they can show up again in a backstage. I always think that's valuable. You get to see characters interact. Like, so I'm not negative on it, but definitely had a particular feel, Marcus, right? This tiny little segment here.
That was hilarious to me. I can't lie. Like, did y'all notice the way the camera zoomed in and out on their faces every time they were talking? Like, it was like aggressive zoom every time someone had their turn to talk, and then aggressive zoom out to somebody else. Like, it was so funny. But again, like the character dynamics at play were really nice and really cool touch, and it was a continuation of what we saw at the beginning of the show, where Mercedes and Stat, they got along pretty well. I was like, hey, nice to meet you. Appreciate the saving. And then Willow, she got in her face. She's like, get the fuck out of my face. I don't trust you like that. And then, of course, Stokely did it well.
Doing production, like they're trying to test certain things out. I wish that, like, on social media where they had like that Mariah May promo where she had like that 8K camera on her. Like if they did that backstage more often, I feel like that would get way better.
Yeah, that would be really cool to do. And then, like, again, with Stokely's awesome. We all have great things to say about Stokely Hathaway. He's long been one of the best managers in all of wrestling for a while. He can be a little much. I don't begrudge people for thinking he can be a little bit much sometimes, and he was a little bit here, but it wasn't like an active detriment.
At least he's funny, right? That's at least he is. And I will say the only reason I noted earlier is because I think he's clearly going to be an outright heel sooner than later. But like, if you want him to just be a babyface where all of the wrestlers he managed at some point has to say Stokely, and he's like this sort of he can't help himself. I mean, I'm fine with that too. It just feels like, as we mentioned, he's going to be a heel, so I would just play a little straighter. But he's certainly funny, Chuck. Right? I mean, Stokely's that goes without saying.
He is very funny. I don't have too much more to add about this segment except the fact that Chris going to protect Willow and then immediately calling off when she realized Mercedes was cool with her was very interesting to me, and I think it just adds another little nice bit to their story. And the Mercedes and Chris face to face, just give me that match. I just want to see them wrestle immediately. I would book that as Mercedes' first match, to be honest. I would just have Chris be like, look, you haven't gotten in the ring in 8 months. Let's go. Let's do it.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
I love that so much.
I think Sky Blue has had a positive couple weeks, and Julia Hart, I
Mm.
totally get why they love her potential, but like, she's not wrestling in a long time. Let's put her in there with someone that's a little bit of a higher caliber, you know. And
They
I
need
don't
to
even,
make a statement.
yeah, and I don't even see that as a reflection of Julia and Sky. It's more of a reflection of
Yeah.
how good Chris is, you know. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. She's so underrated. We praise her all
Yeah.
the time, but she's still super underrated, I think.
I honestly think she's one of their most consistent TV wrestlers. Like,
Yes,
if she's on a
absolutely.
card, that match will usually have some cool ideas, and some, like, it usually delivers. So, yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. Slightly less reliable TV action up next. Next, I'm so intrigued what everyone had for this one. Chris Jericho, sorry, Lionheart. Chris Jericho.
Next segment.
I wish.
Jana, I've tried that for the last 6 weeks. It does not work.
It just will not work. It just won't.
The shot that Chris takes when he gets in the ring and the pyro's behind him and he stands there like this, it's like he's Lionheart being it possibly every time.
It's so unserious.
It's insane. So I saw there was actually some folks that really like this match.
Yeah.
Sincerely, I did not like this match very much.
Neither did I.
I like parts of it.
Parts of it.
I
Okay,
like
go on then, Marcus. Marcus, let's let Marcus lead the way. He seems to be the most positive on this, which is hilarious considering everything. But what did you think of Hook and Jericho? Because I agree it wasn't all bad, to be fair. So take it away, mate.
See, I like parts of it mostly because Hook was just doming absolute dog shit out of Jericho for vast stretches of it. And then it had to turn into a Jericho match where he gets a nice little comeback, hits a lion saw, boom, 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 almost kills Hook when he throws him into the damn turnbuckle.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, please be okay, Hook. And then the finish.
Yeah.
Oh dear, the finish. So he gets it, like Hook gets him in the red room on the top rope. Gets him to the center of the ring. After all of that, Hook wins with a goddamn roll up. With an inside cradle.
Wait, Marcus, we have to. Your description is correct. We have to just hold it there for a moment. Chris walked himself away from the ropes.
Exactly.
He was in the ropes, and then he was like, "Okay, let me get the center of the ring here, so we can do this finish." It was weird, but yeah.
It's like I liked all Hook getting a whole bunch of offense. That was great. That was cool and everything. It would have been nice if he just hooked in the red room and just choked him the fuck out and called it a night, and we never hear about this again. But no, it's Chris Jericho in 2024. You know it's going to continue. You know he had to look kind of good. You know he had to get beat with an inside cradle and put on the whole, you got me, kid. Good job. Right. Look, and then we get to a whole backstage segment of, I got a proposition for you.
That's concerning.
The answer should be, get the fuck away from me, old man. Please. Please. Take a hit.
Yeah. It's because when you describe it, I do actually agree. Like, I do appreciate that most of this match was wrestled with like a clear idea of what it wanted to be, and Hook was just kicking ass. But the problem is, the finish was from a different match, right? Like the finish didn't fit the rest of this match, and it undercut it in a lot of ways. I thought. I don't know, Charlie. What did you make of Jericho and Hook?
I don't know how to talk about Jericho matches anymore without me literally just saying I don't want to watch this, because like it wasn't actively terrible. I didn't think it was all that good outside of like a few like good spots, but I don't know, man. I guess good for Hook that he got a TV match that he looked like great in, but also, brother, you've got to learn some moves that aren't just suplexes, because like as cool as your offense is when you hit those big moves, the in-between work, it's like noticeably getting to the point that he has no in-between work. And it's like, dude, that is like a bit, I don't know. They need to do something with Hook that's getting him more reps. And I guess I can't complain because he's getting more reps right now. But I don't know. Jericho is also very funny because he's very self-aware in the fact that people are sick of Judas. So he switched to the Lionheart gimmick to keep himself fresh for TV. And it's kind of worked on the audience, like the live audiences, which is the worst part about it.
The Lionheart presentation is unhinged.
It's so unserious. Like, brother, it's 2024. Get that thing off the road, brother.
He plays it so straight. It's so like sincere. Like it's this thing that we're all so thrilled about. It's
like he's having such a blast doing it. It's like, brother, it's not Nitro. What are we doing?
It's sure not. It's interesting one, Jana. What did you make of this match?
I was like falling asleep because I've been saying it for so long. I said it 2 weeks ago, and then I said it yesterday. Hook, it's like you know that meme of the stick figure, and it's holding a stick and it's poking something. It's like, do something.
Yeah.
That's what I feel with Hook. I just want him to like wake up. It's like he walks into the ring. If he doesn't have his hood on, he's looking through his hair. He's like this.
Yeah.
And then he'll hit one suplex, another suplex. And then you have this old grandpa, Chris Jericho, just like stinking it up. And it's just like, stop trying to make Hook and Jericho happen.
It's like, stop trying to make sex a thing. It's not happening.
Literally, I was just like, oh my God. I was in the watch along. I kept looking up. I think at one point I turned my camera off because I was just like, let me take a nap while this match is on. Ugh.
Yeah, I do think it's probably fair that like you both brought up Hook there. We had a conversation last week about really emphasizing the word elite, right? Like if you're on Dynamite, we want to see the work. It has to be said, the work in this match was not very good from either party, right? The loose would be the word. Like there was one point late in the match where Jericho he was trying to get the walls of Jericho, and Hook was throwing like punches from underneath, and it was like
those are unfortunate.
And it's just an example of not only is he a wrestler who's still young and finding his way. When did Hook make his debut? What, like 2 years ago? Maybe a little bit over 2 years ago. His 2 years as a pro are totally different to the usual 2 years pro, right? He's only had a handful really of true traditional matches. And I continue to worry with Hook that what makes his presentation work and what gives him an aura also actively limits how much he can actually grow as a wrestler, and I think they have to be careful with this. I'm sure they're very protective of him in terms of, you probably don't want Hook working random spot shows. Like, I get it. But at the same time, maybe you should start working some random spot shows. Like,
he needs to go to Ring of Honor for a little bit, man. Like, have him wrestle these matches that he never really wrestles in front of an audience of like 300 people that aren't going to remember it. And that's not a knock on the people that stick around for Ring of Honor, but unless it's a real memorable match, you don't remember those tapings. Like, let's be real here. And that is a great platform for someone like Hook to grow because it still protects him for the wider audience.
Emphasis on grow.
Yeah, he doesn't. He needs to do something. Like,
same thing.
Yeah,
I remember when CM Punk was like, "Send Hook," and I used that video into the ground, and now I regret using that video because you sent him, and we've gotten the same thing week in and week out.
Yeah, and even with like the whole character stuff, him going off and just going on the beaten path and just doing random little spot shows here and there. It can't work within the context of who he has been as a character for the last 2 years because Hook just kind of marches to the beat of his own drum, and all of a sudden you can see him pop up at such and such show in middle of nowhere or pop up in Ring of Honor.
Sorry, this popped me because I think that would actively help him as a wrestler, to be honest.
Oh my God.
That's actually my burner in the chat. I've been typing Yeah, it's dark matches is not. I mean, again, this is not a criticism of Hook so much as it is. It's inevitable with how it's just the way it's going to be, right? Like he's had such a weird experience and limited experience. I just think it'd be important to prioritize the long term here. Like, young guy, try and give him as much chance to succeed long term as you can. But we'll see what they have for Hook. Obviously, there's a proposition waiting for him next week. So.
I'm so scared. I thought Jericho was going to turn heel last night, and the fact that he didn't makes me worry a lot.
I think Marcus is right. I think
this is so much the Ricky Starks feud repackaged.
Yeah.
Kind of beast if they just swerved us all and turned Hook heel. I think that would be very funny, and I don't know if it would work, but it'd be something different at least.
That's the thing.
The funniest outcome that I really don't want to see happening is this actually ends up revitalizing Jericho.
Yeah, I do have to say, folks in the chat are saying Sammy Guevara, and they're probably saying it as a prediction, not like a hope. for Sammy Guevara's sake, and look, he's not my favorite wrestler, but if anything is fair, he cannot come back to do stuff with Jericho again. It cannot.
That was
something else.
Do
something else.
Yeah.
Please, Sammy. I like you more than most people as a wrestler. You're an entertaining guy. The last match you had with House was a hoop or collision.
Absolutely.
Please get away from Jericho. Grow up. You're 30.
Yes.
You got a whole gym.
You're a dad at this point.
Exactly.
Yes.
Like, it's time to put that to the side.
Yeah, I agree. If there's nothing else you can do with him, then it's time to move. Like, if that's all you have from this point, you might as well just move on, right? Like, he has to do something else. It hurts him more than anything. So
it's like Jericho beat him at Grand Slam. You do the heel turn with the Cows family, and you're stuck in the whole vortex of that. And then you're a face again, because of course you are.
That Grand Slam match that was like a flashback in my head. That was a moment. That was a moment in time. Okay, while I recover, Charlie, let's go through some super chats, please.
Let's go through some super chats. Yuzora Hart, $10 super chat. Thank you. Weird Dynamite. I enjoyed the vibes, but had a lot of negatives. Rampage was better in ring unilaterally.
Oh yeah.
Swerve's promo wasn't good. Women's tag wasn't good. I'm assuming we're talking Dynamite here. Okada King was just okay. Thank God for O's.
Yeah, we agree on the Rampage point of things, and we will we'll talk about the match. Rampage review just won't be like in the next segment, right? Because
we'll talk.
It was like an acclaimed promo, and there's only so much time in our day. I mean, what do you? All right. Speaking of only so much time in the day, this just kind of briskly go for this. Adam Cole had a promo. He's disappointed in Wardlow, and if that's something you're into, God bless you. All right. Chris Jericho proposition as discussed. And up next, Will Ospreay. Yes?
Sorry, I was reading a message in chat. Sorry. Continue.
Okay.
It's not relevant.
I have to say, I was thinking, there is no way Charlie has something left to say about the Jericho proposition. Surely.
Nah, but let's get this Ospreay thing. I got so many things to say about William Peter Charles Ospreay on AEW TV.
It was a live promo, live interview of Tony Schiavone, and more of the same here in terms of great energy. I love when Schiavone gives the seal of approval to like people that aren't TV stars yet, or like new to TV. Like, it's just cool, right? Seeing someone that's like been on TV as long as Schiavone being like, this guy's he's the real deal. He's Will Ospreay. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. And Ospreay had another killer promo here. I tweeted last night. These segments are very Nitro. And back in the day, for those unaware, baby faces would just come out and they would talk to Mean Gene and the people. And it was like a thing that you would see on every show. Mm-hmm. He's like the best at this in AEW after 3 weeks. And I did not see that coming by any means. It's actually stunning to me how well this is going. So
he was so happy.
Yes, absolutely.
That's the thing.
When he came out, I was just like, oh my God, everybody, let's get up.
The Ospreys are still over everywhere in the U.S. and in Canada right now. Like, it's the hottest thing in the business damn near in AEW. It's like,
shout out to Will for the haircut.
It's like, if anyone told you that Will Ospreay would be a killer American TV promo and a killer, like, super mega babyface on American TV in 2024, I would have said, damn. I'm so proud of the man. I know he's going to have killer TV matches because that's who he is. But as a TV character that people want to see, the crowd love and are super behind, and he's just the happiest man on planet Earth to be in AEW, considering like what we saw out of Babyfaces all last year, where they did all types of combos of my booking sucks, this place sucks, I'm not happy, I quit. This nigga want to be here.
Yeah, like, it's fun, right?
Goddamn happy.
Imagine that. It's fun to watch a professional wrestler enjoy being on the TV show that you watch. It's like, it sounds like dumb that we're highlighting this, but it is actually like a lost art. Have energy. Be excited to see the people. Like it stood out, Jonna. This was another hit segment. It seemed like you liked just as much as us, right? What did you think?
I love it. And you know what? I'm happy for him that he's having like these little promo moments, because he said it many times, like he's brought up his autism and how it like makes him a little socially awkward, and how like, he's even spoke about it in interviews, how like he's really like, he knows that he's not the best when it comes to talking on the mic, and that he has like certain setbacks, but you wouldn't even be able to tell because it's come so natural to him. And I feel like his genuine happiness that he's felt since being in America, that it's shining through, and he's using it really well, because when he came out jumping around, the whole crowd is like jumping with him, and they're hanging on to every word he's saying. And it's giving me like vibes of like the Yes movement, just to how hot the crowd is when he comes out. And you didn't really see that in WWE for a while until Daniel Bryan was a thing. And now you're seeing it with Will. So it's just really cool to see when they're genuinely happy and they love what they do and they're letting that shine. I like it. It was really good.
And he's doing it by just being Will Ospreay.
Yeah,
exactly.
just
unapologetically himself.
And
the content isn't like groundbreaking. It's just a guy talking to the people, and he seems sincere and he seems excited, and the people are excited about that. It's like, I agree completely. Of course, it should be noted, pretty big headline coming out of this chart, right? The Katsuyori Shibata match is lined up for next week. Next week's show.
God.
Looks like a good one. There was a great crowd reaction to the mention of
God,
Shibata. The place, like,
I popped when he spoke Japanese. I was like, yes.
And that's a fascinating match too. I'm really intrigued what that looks like in 2024. Very, very interesting. Chuck, what did you make of the segment? And then feel free to talk a little about next week's match too.
I think that Ospreay in this segment, he is growing week on week. Like, I liked last week's segment, but like the way he cuts promos, I think it's just because I'm also English. It's a little bit jarring to me sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
But it was less jarring this week. I don't know whether it's because they're really getting into the meat of the feud. He had more of like a mission statement with the Bryan feud rather than it just being we're two of the best wrestlers in the world. Let's wrestle, which is, there's nothing wrong with that. That is a good way to start a feud. I'm not bringing that discourse back up. But now that they're really getting into the meat of the build, like his promos feel like they have more direction with it, which is great. And it suits him. And I think he's like really adjusted well to American TV, and the crowds love him. Like, anyone that thinks that he should have been brought in as a heel, like, I get why you would have thought that with his previous AEW appearances, but they have nailed this, like, pretty much since his like Revolution match. Like, everything has been perfect. And I think, like, to Jana's point about him like having the autism and bringing that up in promos and talking about that a lot, throwing him out there with Tony Schiavone every week, if that's the way of like building him up as a character on TV and like making sure he feels secure enough to talk in the ring, that's been great. There's no one better for that role than Schiavone. So, and then he announced the Shibata match for next week, and I damn near jumped out of my seat because, oh my God, did I never think we'd get that again, which is pretty much every Shibata match ever, to be honest, at this point. So I'm very, very excited about it.
And it works within the context of the story with Danielson, because they had the match on Collision, which was very good. Things like, you don't think I can walk a day in your shoes, or as reference to the promo that Brian cut afterwards backstage. He was like, all right, nigga, I did everything better than you did in Japan. I won the world title. I won BOSJ. I won the junior title. I won the never title. Excuse me. I've done damn near all the things. And I wrestled Shibata just like you in his prime, and he kicked my ass. But I'm a different man now. He's here in the company with me once again. Let's get it on. I'm gonna show you what's up. You know,
saying Brian's shoes were too small for him, like, it was such a good line, and I cannot deliver it the way that Ospreay did, but it was such a Will line. Like, and it was just
camera
so
panned out too to the ring. That was so good
because he like stepped over. Oh,
it's very much. It reminds me of when Brett showed up in WCW, him and Flair did like a month build where they just basically just did shit talk the whole time. Now, granted, we have yet to see Eva Man pull out an extract from The Observer. That one I think will probably be left to 1998. We haven't gone that far.
Yeah, let's not go baseball. Let's not go
but
baseball.
It's a similar playbook in terms of like they're just basically saying they're better than the other for the most part. Like, that's awesome. More of that. And speaking of more of that, more of, while they won't all be as good as Ospreay, more of just sending babyfaces out there to talk to Schiavone. People love seeing them, man. It's easy. Like, it's easy TV. And none of these promos have been too long either, which is very, very important. That's a
Yes.
huge thing. So, yep, another big hit, certainly for Will Ospreay. We had a little video package up next, setting the stage for the main event. Before we move to the women's tag, Chuck, let's catch up on some super chats. Go for it.
Yeah, we've got a little build up here, so let's get through some of these. Leo Lefarian, Canadian 699 super chat. Hook facing Roosh/LFI in a feud would be super beneficial for him, in my opinion. Oh my god,
That's very inspired, actually.
It's one of those ones where it would be a gamble. It could work out great, or Roosh could, because Roosh is, I mean, you know, he's a little aggressive. He may eat him up in there. I don't know how that would look, but I like the idea.
Yeah,
I definitely like the idea.
I'm with the idea. Not with Jericho as his backup, but I'm with the idea.
Right. I think it's I think it's something that would like absolutely change Hook's game as a wrestler and force him to adapt. Because Roosh, look, people were dramatic about it, and I don't co-sign that. Like the whole, you know, the drama at the Jack Perry match last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, we've all seen enough Roosh. Like, he has one way. He's gonna, like, you have to make himself for you. He's not gonna just give ground to you.
Yep.
So if Hook throws punches the way he did last night, he'll have to change that up pretty quick. So I like the idea, definitely.
Yeah, for sure. Tragon Games, $2 super chat. I feel like Hook is trying too much to be like Taz. I'm not super familiar with Taz's work, so Joe, you might be a better one to speak on this.
There's definitely like an attempt to recapture that aura.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the one issue I would say is there is a difference in how physically they feel, right? Like Taz, obviously, breaking news, folks, Taz was a pretty short guy, but Taz, his build was crazy, right?
Yeah.
Taz he had like a Mike Tyson frame almost. Hook doesn't, but Hook almost has that kind of Brad Pitt in Snatch vibe, right? Where he's like this guy. That's kind of what they're going for with him. I think there is definitely truth to this in terms of trying to nail and recreate the presentation before he has the kind of base fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's not to say Taz was a super worker, because that wasn't Taz's appeal. He was a killer. But Taz did have a couple years behind him and traditional wrestling background behind him until he became Taz. So I definitely think there's something to be said for him. In hindsight, maybe it would have been better if Hook could have been someone else for a couple of years and then came in as Hook. The issue, of course, with that is it was the pandemic when he came on AEW TV. Like, I'm sure a million things changed there, but I definitely think there's truth to the super chat.
Sure. Collider Clint, £2 super chat. Thank you. Billy's post Witherspoon's energy is infectious. That's really true. That is what a lot of Ospreay's energy feels like. That's very funny. Shy-Town Spurs, $5 super chat. Will Ospreay is the human embodiment of a golden labradoodle energy, and it's perfect for a babyface. Yes.
All I know is Daly's place, and next month we got Dynamite and Collision in the same week. I need Billy going the match, baby. I need it.
That's going to be awesome.
Going there now that I live in Florida, because
I'm really glad they're going. I mean, I know it's great for you guys, but like as a fan at home, it's great too. It's great when they're there. You know?
I love seeing Daly's place. Yeah. Oh my god, Elevated and Mercedes theme song in Daly's place is gonna be crazy.
Oh, Okada too.
That's gonna be Okada as well. Oh, Jesus Christ, this roster, bro.
Yeah. You need to make sure though, Marcus, you can't have too many people at that Collision show. It needs to be sparsely.
Yeah, make sure it empties out a little bit.
It needs to be. Hopefully it's raining that day too.
The light's gotta be down, like it's gotta be real gritty about it.
At least 50% of you have to be a little miserable that night, you know. Like.
Don't cheer too loud. Only pop like when we get to the closing stretch.
Oh, 100%. Oh, by the way, it's Jacksonville. About 75% of people there will be miserable.
Respect.
Best.
Okay. It sounds Collider ready. I like it.
Yeah. Bro, 199. Will Ospreay best on interviews 2024.
Hey, man.
Maybe.
He has the energy.
Yeah.
You know, I can't disagree right now.
It does have to be said, though, best on interviews genuinely might be dependent on Rock's schedule this year, if we're being real. Because how much time he misses will probably, I mean, he gets like 20 minutes every week at this point. So we'll see. That would be.
That's not even counting the Twitter promos he cuts, too, on top of that.
Yeah. It sure doesn't count, though. You're right. we're at like an hour and a half for those at this point. So
I have not watched a single minute except the arm slap clips. They're very funny.
Like, why is he slapping his arm so damn hard, bro?
Because he
No,
has
it's-
goosebumps, so he's always like.
You know?
Brett again, $4.99. Genuinely though, I think the Wrestle Kingdom presser unlocked something in Will promo wise. I think it reassured him that his best character is his honest self. That's a really good point.
Good
That
take.
Wrestle Kingdom presser was really, really good.
That's the problem of his life right there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree, and I definitely think we've watched his confidence, and I also think the one that he cut before Wembley, more
Yes.
specifically the reaction it got. You know, the reaction. I think seeing that reaction probably gives him a lot of confidence as a promo. I think that's carried over to this run. Okay, up next, Mariah May and Toni Storm versus Deonna Purrazzo and Thunder Rosa. I didn't think this was much of a match. It was okay. Rosa is still rusty, right? I think it's fair to say, and that's
Yeah.
understandable. I'm not like, it's not a big deal to me. She had a couple matches, but the big thing here to me was clearly there's a shift with Deonna's direction, right? Rosa got the pin, and Deonna wasn't too thrilled about it. So it seems like, Charlie, as we've been pitching for about a month, which feels like around a decade, seems like Deonna's going to be a heel, which is clearly what she should be. She's way more natural in that way, as Rosa was the one who got the win. Chuck, what did you make of the match, and then what do you make of the presumed direction coming out of this?
I thought Mariah May had some really good work in this match, and she was kind of the MVP of it all. She tied everything pretty much all together. I do agree. They're definitely shifting Deonna's presentation, which is for the best, man. Like, sometimes you have to go with the crowd's reaction, especially when a character's like new to TV. Like if that's how they perceive her, like in her initial run in AEW, that's okay. We can retry the babyface thing down the road. Like, she's going to be there for at least 3 years. Like, we've got time to try these things. But I do think that this was kind of a precursor for what the Dynasty match is going to end up being, and it will be these 4 women in a fatal 4-way, which could be something, to be honest, if this if the work in this match was anything to go by.
I think it's a safer bet for pay-per-view than that submission match that we were fearing last week. I think that would have died.
Yeah,
on
absolutely.
It would have died death on that show.
Yeah, like at least if it's a 4-way, you can do like an action match, right? And like tightly produced, saying that's go, go, go. Yeah, we'll see in that regard. But I definitely think like this was a positive just for kind of where they're trending, even if the match was just okay. Jonna, what did you make of the tag match?
It wasn't the best match I've seen. I love that Rosa got the W. I think she's looked amazing. Yeah, I think she's getting still, back in the groove of things, but I think that she did. She looks great, and that she'll get her footing back soon. I agree. I feel like Deonna should have came in as heel. She's great as a heel. The babyface thing, when you have people who in my opinion, when you have people who aren't good at not good, but when it's not as natural to people to be a babyface, it goes stale after a while. And I feel like she's just somebody you got to just let her do her thing that works for her, or else she'll fade. Mariah May, love her. Her show, I agree, she tied this whole thing together, and I feel like, and don't come for me in the chat, but I feel like she's, in my opinion, been putting better work in than Toni Storm.
That's not a controversial take. I don't think that's a controversial take.
I just feel like, I don't know, like her, she's just been doing her thing, and it's just been coming to her. And she's been somebody I watched even when she was in Stardom, and she was just great. Yeah. Like with Toni, I feel like her character, it's like, all right, girl, like let's live in Technicolor. You're not in black and white. Like we got to get over this now. Like it's just like not hitting the way it used to. But Mariah has actually been doing stuff to where it's like, look at her. So yeah, I feel like it fell a little flat, but Mariah and Thunder Rosa were really just the ones that stuck out for me.
In a funny way, Tony's work being kind of lackluster has really highlighted Mariah May. Like they're doing this whole bit of she's essentially stealing Tony's spotlight and becoming what Toni Storm always was, and Toni changing her character work has accidentally like made that storyline even more fitting.
It's a weird one because I agree, but it's like you say
it's really unfortunate for Toni matches.
But... It is, but have them all.
Yeah, it is
Two-sided
what it
coin,
is.
that one.
Indeed, Marcus. What did you make
Double
of
edged.
that?
I said two-sided coin. I meant a double-edged sword.
It's fine. It's
Yeah,
fine.
because like
You'll never top the Montel one with the wings and the legs. And
We were
anyway,
talking about that
Marcus,
yesterday.
proceed, mate. Go for it.
Yeah, so several things. So just to go back to the whole like Tony's work, highlighting Mariah's improvement in the ring and her dynamism in the ring. I don't think that's what they're trying to do, but considering the story that they're trying to tell, it works in a roundabout way. And I really want to see more of Mariah, to be honest, in that match because she was fantastic. And she is another long line in the signs that they've made late 2023 and in early 2024 now with Okada, Ospreay, and her, where you think, okay, they'll be good, they'll be awesome because they're good wrestlers. And in Mariah's case, it's like, I think she's good and she's improved leaps and bounds in stardom, but how good is she really? And you see her on TV and it's like, well, she's a fucking star. She's awesome. So the tag match itself, it wasn't exactly that 2022 era of AEW women's tag matches where they were just going crazy every week.
Yeah.
But the important thing was Rosa, who they mentioned in the backstage promo on Collision on Rampage, where they said, I never lost a title. I was never pinned for it. And then they mentioned on commentary several times in the match when she was in the ring, she never lost it and she was never pinned for it. And she pinned Tony. And then Deanna looking absolutely pissed off about it. Thank God they're pivoting with Deanna because I like her. I think she's a good wrestler and everything. Nothing about her from her mannerisms to the way she wrestles to call herself the virtuosa. That does not scream babyface. It doesn't. That screams,
there's nothing babyface about
that
it.
screams elitist asshole who thinks she's the greatest thing since sliced bread and who thinks she's the best wrestler on the mat in the entire locker room, which, quite frankly, that's not the case. But that's character. Anyway, and this is a bit of a deep cut, but it's really reminiscent how they debuted her as a babyface against Tony. It's like when Andrade first got to NXT and they put him in there with Ty Dillinger at the height of the 10 gimmick. It's like, good wrestler, nothing about them screams babyface. You put them in there with a powerhouse of a gimmick. Like, no matter what you think about Timeless Tony, that gimmick will overwhelm you if you are not on your P's and Q's. And the dynamic just was what it was. And thankfully, they're going to pivot away. Thankfully, Deanna's going to need more heel, hopefully, because it just suits her far better on AEW television, and it just suits her far better, period.
Yeah. You've given me another one of those flashbacks with that Andrade code. Remember the suspenders and the little hat?
God.
That whole visual is...
He's, like, look, obviously he's part of the problem because he's hilarious and doesn't give a shit, but, like, his creative in US wrestling is fascinating. Andrade's had, like, one good year of creative and he's been wrestling in the States for, like, 8 years.
Yes.
Like, year.
Right, like it was the Zelina title run in NXT, right? That was like everything after and before that has been kind of weird.
Magic.
Yeah, mate, very quickly, detour. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but on Raw, John has seen it, obviously you're reviewing it, but he's like doing the thing he did in AEW again where he's like walking around backstage and like making deals. How is this happening again?
I hate, it's like, I don't know. At this point with Raw, half the time, it's so painful going through all 3 hours that I just have to go to the Hulu cut, and I'm just like, girl, because you could see which segments actually mean something, depending on whether or not they're put in the Hulu cut, because half of those segments don't even make it into the Hulu cut. It's literally condensed to an hour and 30 minutes, and then you have like the main stuff.
Sounds pretty awesome, actually.
I'm
going to investigate this.
I'm about to game with that.
It was a good sell. It was a good pitch. All right, maybe you get a sponsorship out of that. That's good stuff. All right. This next one was God. I love the Butcher. God bless the Butcher. I've seen some things in my time. Up next, Swerve Strickland Open Challenge. Out comes the Butcher. Immediately laughed out loud because, like, God bless. It's an open challenge. Here is the Butcher.
Open challenge.
So funny.
I think they went like 2 minutes, and I swear, if you were counting on your hands what went right and what went wrong, the second hand won this with ease.
Yeah.
even to the finish, they mixed up what corner Swerve was going to do the stomp from. Did you guys see that? He went to the wrong. Butcher was rolling to the wrong corner, and Butcher was looking. I love him dearly. But I mean, in fairness, if I'd have said to you Swerve Strickland versus the Butcher, you'd have been like, "That sounds like a strange wrestling match." It was one. Look, folks, it was 2 minutes. It's not like a big deal. It's no one will remember this in a week. No. But it was incredibly funny.
Yeah, I get why they picked Butcher because Toronto and he's from Buffalo, which is like an hour drive, if even that. It's just so.
I didn't know he was local. That makes more sense now because I was confused why they picked the Butcher. I was like, what is going on?
Again, I need to stress he got like hardly any offense. It was nothing, right? Like, it was not a big deal. Yeah. It just was funny the way the match was wrestled, I guess. Is
literally, I was just like, like, put him in this ring.
Like, the borrowed phrase from Charlie, it was shocking. Like,
yes.
Boss is in chat.
Boss is here, folks. Everyone on their best behavior. Like and subscribe, folks. Like and subscribe. Yes. All right.
Please like and subscribe. Keep the super chats going. Make us look good because you guys have been great this stream.
Really has been very generous. We appreciate it.
We appreciate all the support.
Hell of a payday.
I can imagine what Monty would have said about that match. He would have been like, "Yeah, Butcher came out."
He wouldn't have said anything. He would have thrown it around and not addressed it. That's exactly
what a little bit.
He would no soul the shit out of it. Like, or if he really wanted to get spiteful, he'd be like, "What are we doing?
Like, what are we doing?"
Did you? I don't know if you guys saw on Worldwide on Monday. He like just blindsided me with like we had like a 10-minute infantry debate. I was at like minute 8, and I was thinking like, how have I ended up? I'm defending like the infantry for this. I don't, the things we do for the love of the game. But nonetheless, Marcus, what did you make of this Mac Classic here with Butch and Swerve, bro? What do you think?
It was a match, you know.
It was a match.
They got there, rolled around, got after it for 2 minutes. Bell rang, got in, got out. It was a cool little vehicle just to keep Swerve a warm body and to give him a win on TV. Because if you're going to build him up to Dynasty against Joe, you can't have him out there just cutting promos every single week without like wrestling. Because again, you did lose a title match. And you kind of want him to get some wins, which is where we're going to dovetail into following the review of this quote unquote match. But you know, was what it was.
It was harmless ultimately, and in fairness to the Butcher, it's like how much ring time has Butch had as of late, right? Like I get it, it's difficult. You get thrown in there, you're wrestling Swerve on TV. I get it, it's hard. So, not unnatural, I think, to begin with. So you get what you get. Jana, what did you make of this win for Swerve here?
I feel like that match was so stupid. It felt like those matches that they would just like back in the day that they would just throw Hornswoggle in and just like let him win.
Oh
God! Butcher, Jesus!
Like there's a comment that somebody put up and it's supposed to be a Monty's voice. It's like, what are we doing? That's literally how I felt that entire match.
Hornswoggle is crazy. Oh my God!
I was like, okay.
It's like I wasn't expecting nobody crazy for the open challenge and nothing. That's the Butcher pop. I was like, okay, sure, local, why not?
It was definitely
something.
The bell rang, and then it rang
again.
Believer.
If it's not going to be good, at least make it funny, right?
Yes,
so,
that's pretty much the existence of the Butcher and the Blade in AEW from their debut to now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Butcher is also when did he break? Didn't he turn pro wrestling like 39 years old? God bless him.
And everything.
He seems like an awesome dude. He does pop me just on kind of just being the Butcher. Chuck, anything to add?
Like a full-sized Hornswoggle. It's like whenever he comes out, you're just like,
full-sized Hornswoggle is crazy.
Yeah, that's even after my review of the match, that feels like too far. But
I have nothing to add. Let's get to the promo. Let's get to because I do have a lot to say about that.
It felt to me like Swerve was aware that he hadn't just had a classic necessarily, and his promo, you could tell he was a little shaky there for a moment, right? Like his solo promo, but more of the same, and kind of setting the stage for this inevitable Joe match. And then Joe came out and appeared as though he was ready to throw blows, right? Like he was ready to go to the ring, and they had a little promo exchange. Joe Joe's promo was strong, and then Don Callis came out and interrupted, which did surprise me. I was kind of intrigued as to where they were going there for a moment. And this set up great heat for Callis, it must be said. That was a great reaction.
Crazy heat from the building.
Yeah, that really was. It actually took us back to when Takeshita first turned, right? And he got that heat. That's the way it felt.
Can we talk about the Callis family being a lot better and a lot more tolerable since the Jericho stuff ended?
You can, I won't, but you can, Marcus. Do you want to go for that now?
Because like they've been pretty harmless. Like Takeshita has taken a much more of a frontward role into this instead of him just kind of being in the backseat while Callis just soaks everything up. Now Callis is still a great heat magnet, always was, but it's been much more of a focus on the wrestlers, especially Takeshita. You got a big spotlight match against Ospreay. You wrestled back in Japan. That was a killer match, by the way. I recommend everybody who hasn't watched it to please go check that out. And he's finna get a crazy match on Dynamite with Swerve next week. And then I love they point out, outside the Callis family, you two have the same amount of wins. You both lost in the pay-per-view, but you have the same amount of wins as it stands right now in 2024. So let's have a little tiebreaker. Swerve Takeshita next week. Let's get it.
That's the matchmaking we want, right? That's exactly what we've been asking for. So, yeah, I like the direction a lot. Another great match for next week, Chuck. Takeshita and Swerve. Is. Go for it in terms of the segment. Go for it.
Yeah. Like, people were ragging on Swerve's performance here. I don't defend wrestlers when it comes out like to their performances, like on promos and stuff necessarily. He wasn't Rolling Loud this weekend. Like, just remember that. So, like, he was probably like absolutely gassed from that weekend, to be fair. But I thought Swerve's segment of the promo was just kind of like further in the story. It was kind of whatever. Joe's promo was godly. Like him calling himself a god was just fucking incredible stuff. And I'm very excited about this Takeshita match because not only is it just a really great match on paper, but it's planting the seeds for Swerve versus Ospreay at All In. And I can explain this because obviously Don Callis is still technically tied to Will Ospreay, and this Swerve beating Takeshita, right? When Swerve wins the world title, so, like in 2 months' time, Ospreay can just confront him and be like, we've beaten a lot of the same people. And hell, I've beaten someone you couldn't, because he's probably going to beat Bryan at Dynasty. And Swerve lost to Bryan. So this is very much planting the seeds, if you're as delusional as I am and look at things this way. I'm very excited for the match.
See, the thing is, that's not even delusional, though. That's like actually very straightforward storytelling. Exactly. It's very straightforward. It's very obvious in a great way. The dots are right there. You see the forest for the trees on it in this case. So if they do it, that's fine. It's perfect.
Yeah. I mean, it might be crazy, but I actually also am crazy, so I co-sign it. I think that's where we're headed. I do think there's some kind of seeds been planted. I think in this case, I think you're able to look that far ahead because Ospreay, when he announced he signed for AEW, literally said, "I will be at Wembley Stadium," which to me would suggest like the first thing you do with Wembley is try and figure out what Ospreay's doing, right? Like it's natural. So yeah, I think you're on the money with that, but. That'd be big time, even when indeed comes to happen. Jana, I'm intrigued. Did you like the post-match promo here with Swerve, Joe, and Don Callis? What did you think?
It was a little bit shaky for Swerve.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Charlie's theory about Rolling Loud. Rolling Loud's intense, y'all. I went to a Rolling Loud once, and I was like, girl. But no, I like Don Callis. He has like his little Harry Potter scar going on. He looked really cool. And then Joe coming out was cool. I like it. You know, it was something for the kids.
The people they seemed, the people seem happy to see Joe too, right? I think it's when they don't announce guys. I think that's always like because in AEW you don't know who you're going to see, right? Like it's a lot less kind of certain in that way. So yeah, it was a pretty good segment. I think it's fair to say. Okay. Folks, it's main event time. Highlight of the show for me, the big one here in Toronto. Adam Copeland challenging Christian Cage for the TNT title. They had like 20 minutes to play with, and I think they went like 25 to the point where anyone who watches this show on Fight TV on delay, God bless you, because the show literally just ends before the finish of the match. You have to flick to
That's so
Rampage
funny.
to see.
Yeah.
Like, because for you guys, it blacks out, but it stays on TNT or TBS, sorry, whatever it was. I don't know what the channel it was on. Did you have to switch channel for this thing?
No,
No.
it just it blacked out and
It went
went
straight-
right to the.
Okay, so
Yeah.
live it did that for us. If you watch
Yeah.
on Fight Today, like the show just ends at like,
It
do you
just
quit?
cuts, yeah.
you have to change to Rampage. But nonetheless,
Can you have
look,
to post
folks.
a clip of that?
Yeah,
It's very funny.
It's such a funny
Now-
like cliffhanger. Like, find out next time what happened to Christian's
You
nutsack
should've-
on Dragon Ball Z.
bro, the explanation I had to offer to my dad to explain why we were going to Rampage on this Wednesday just absolutely baffled what was happening. I was like, just wait. You got to. Anyway, look, folks, this match was definitely too long, and they definitely got too cute, and it was way indulgent and excessive. But who gives a fuck, really? I mean, they're 50 years old. They're childhood friends. Marcus, you mentioned to me on Twitter last night. They both had to retire around a decade ago. Little Christian's a decade, Edge is longer. Somehow, not only are they wrestling each other here in Toronto, but they're killing it. I mean, seriously,
Those are barn
this
burners.
is like a Hollywood story. This story is actually too positive for wrestling. How have they? This is incredible what these two dudes have done. Like, I don't know, people, we kind of take it for granted sometimes, but I want to say Christian got moved to Edge's school when they were kids, and Edge was the kid that the teacher sent out to like welcome Christian to the school. He was the kid that came out to. I mean, it is staggering, and I think it's really cool to see him get a moment like this, and not only get the moment, but deliver. Toronto loved it. I loved it. Waltz and all again. It had its issues, but this was such a fun time. I loved this match. Ultimately, Jana, what did you make of the Dynamite main event?
I because when it did black out, me and Charlie, we were on the watch list and we were like, oh,
literally threw my hands up.
No. I liked it. It was so fun. It reminded me of, I don't know if you guys ever played SmackDown Shut Your Mouth.
Yep.
When that game was out, and that you were able to have like those matches where you could go to different parts of the arena. Like sometimes you could go to like the boiler room or something.
Yeah.
It was fun, and I liked it because when Christian is and he's tied to the turnbuckle, and Edge is kicking him in his area, and the referee goes, "Do you quit? Do you quit?" And Christian doesn't even like breathe. He goes, "No." I liked it. It was fun. And then when Spike came out, I didn't think that they were actually going to let Edge use Spike. And the fact that they did, like not even just using it, but using it in that area of Christian's body, I was like, guys, like, come on.
It was
cool. I loved
real.
it. It was fun. I was entertained. I was very entertained.
They are both so great at like the.
I could have
kinda
done
like-
without the interruption though, like with Daniel Garcia and everybody. I was like, girl,
I think they got
what are you doing here?
I definitely think they got a little carried away with some of the handcuff stuff at the end. I don't know if that was necessary, but yeah, they're both so great at the plunder match, right? And like all the different smoke and mirrors and different elements you can. It also Christian is just what a glorious, like just
awesome.
Absolutely relishes the chance to be a complete pussy, right? Like he's such a coward at every turn. We need more of that in wrestling. It was awesome.
He's a heel that wants to be booed. Like he's really funny. He's really cool on that, but he's also he makes no bones about that. He's an absolutely reprehensible human being that you should not cheer for.
He's never ever heroic or brave. He's just he's running away at all time. He's incredible here.
Literally interrupted the crowd singing Edge's theme song. Like, come on.
Which was absolutely electric, by the way. Shout out to Toronto.
Great atmosphere. Yeah, great atmosphere. Marcus, what did you make of the main event, mate? Go for it.
Hey man, like I always say on Twitter after I see a really great match, it was #real Merzik. You know, like just two OGs going at it in their hometown, being as creative as humanly possible. Like the spot where they brought into the crowd and they went to the penalty box, and Cope took the guy's Boston Bruins jersey on, put it on Christian, and he got a Maple Leafs jersey and he went at a hockey fight. That was great. And then they used the hockey stick as a weapon multiple times.
Yep.
The creativity they have with the ladders,
Yeah.
you can tell they've been doing this for a long ass time. They're absolute masters at using ladders. It was so great. And then Edge diving on top on the entire family off the top of the ladder was awesome. Christian hiding in the girl's bathroom was just he's such a piece of shit, dog. Like,
Yeah,
like how much of a coward can you be? Man hit the girl's bathroom, then picture, came back. He's running his ass off. He's running for his life. And then hit Spike in his nutsack. I'm like, they really let him do this?
Right.
Great. And then face the black. It's like, so we have to find out next week in the next town in Quebec City.
Yeah, they're just still wrestling.
Yeah,
Legend has it.
Like, they're still wrestling to this day. And once again, Pepperidge Farm remembers we all said Christian was not a great signing. Y'all, I remember when y'all shat on that. I remember that. Now look at you. You ain't laughing now, ain't you? That man saved that championship from the depths of hell. We remember that Sammy Guevara American Top Team stuff. We remember QTV. We remember whatever the hell else happened before. We remember Scorpio Sky.
17 Wardlow reigns.
Oh, 17,000 stop-start Wardlow reigns.
It's honestly a relevant topic right now. It's a reminder that a signing's value isn't exclusively what they're going to do to the ratings next week. And like sometimes good wrestlers should be signed because they're going to make the show better. Imagine that, right?
Crazy
Christian
concept.
Cage. Could you imagine? Like, imagine full 2023 AEW without Christian Cage, by the way. Right?
It would have been dire. We might have retired the review. Like, I don't think we could have got through it.
I did retire. And he was on the show.
But he was so great. He was such a highlight every time he was on TV. Yeah. Where it was Rampage, where it was Collision, where it was Dynamite. He made it in a pay-per-view with the TNT Championship, a title that was left for dead last year.
He's really, I think he's a wrestler, and I think this run has proved it. He will age like fine wine. That guy's career, I think people will appreciate more and more. He's so great. And that's not to look. Copeland is a star, right? Copeland's. I think he's been awesome in AEW, but
yeah,
this feud has felt so much about Christian to me because it's a chance for him to be, you know, a top guy at last. So it's great to see. Charlie, I know you. I seem to recall you had a tweet last night at one point that was like, "Okay, enough," or something to that effect, right? I think
I tweeted like, "Let's get to the finish, brother," or something.
It was, yeah. I get it. They went a little long in the tooth, but what did you make of the match overall?
Yeah, that tweet got me a little bit of heat from people because I don't tweet a lot when I'm on watch-alongs. So people that weren't on the watch-along didn't see how much I was enjoying the match up until that like the 7th minute of handcuff spots. Like, it got a little bit too cute towards the end. But I will say, I think this is one of their best like TV plunder matches they've ever done. And like the use of like the entire arena they were in and like tying it into the Canadian stuff. Like, yes, it was kind of hokey and whatever, but it made sense for these two. Like, they were leaning into it. The crowd loved it. The atmosphere was nuts. Like, I think it was like some of the best brawl and walk we've seen in AEW TV. Like, they just did a really good job tying together a bulk of the match, and I think that's what's important. And like, we kind of knew like it was gonna end with like shenanigans a little bit. Like, there was always going to be run-ins and that sort of stuff. I think Beth Phoenix must be under contract with WWE still or something, because I was very, very shocked that she didn't turn up last night.
Yeah, especially with how Shayna like literally left the ring and run off. It felt like Beth was gonna. It felt like they actively set up a run and it didn't happen. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I agree. Also, like, you know, we've talked about a lot of different pieces here, but just straight up some of the bumping here.
Yeah,
God bless these guys. Like, and I'm not surprised, right? Yeah, like
in terms of wrestling, they're old men.
They really are. Yeah, and they're both been guys who've missed a lot of time, and very gutsy, very, very gutsy.
Top of their game in some ways, really. Like, I don't know. It was just incredible stuff. I really did enjoy the main event. Like, I can excuse the hokey bullshit at the end because I love Adam Copeland and I love Christian, and I knew it was coming. It's just,
it was their moment, right?
It was their moment. It was their moment in like Toronto. Like, I would never like actively shit on that. So God bless.
I did have a little PTSD with the handcuff spots from Blood and Guts. Where JS went to DCC with Ty, try to mess with the key in the lock. I was like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I don't think Daddy Magic was an expert. He seemed to be. He was fumbling furiously. But yeah, no, absolutely, I loved it. And also, we talk about how fun it was, but credit to both guys for like they did give it that kind of edge of it. Was like it had moments of being uncomfortable, right? Like when it got really gnarly, like when he had the hockey stick against. That was brutal, yeah. But like when he had like the broken hockey stick against Cope's throat.
Yeah.
I mean, that was like gnarly, right? Like it was hell of a match. Hell of a match. I think it was their best match. And I liked all three of their matches, but a really strong feud. And Copeland is the TNT champ. I'm just going to ask you here, gut feeling. You don't even need to name who necessarily, but you can if you want bonus points. I'm intrigued. When does Adam Copeland drop the TNT title? Are we looking at a long reign or are we looking at a short reign? Jana, what do you reckon? Just a gut feeling. What do you think?
Medium.
Okay.
And in a perfect world, he would drop it to, and maybe you guys aren't expecting me to say this name, Shibata.
Oh my God.
That's inspiring.
Wow, that was
pretty sick. Yeah.
I honestly, for Shibata to get a win over a legend like Adam, come on. Oh my God, please.
Yeah,
like, that would be so good for me.
That would be fine.
I like it.
My easy answer is Garcia. Like that will always be my answer.
Well, I saw everybody in the chat saying Daniel Garcia. I want it to be different.
I have one.
I want to be different so much, but Shibata is so fucking beast.
I had a crazy one that depends a lot on health, sadly. But if in a perfect world, if Bandito was healthy right now, I'd build that man up today. Like right now, today. Or at least earmark it down the line.
Bandito is my international champion, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
God willing.
Yes, it's interesting. I think DG in Vegas is like what
Do you reckon they're going to wait till Double or Nothing? Because I've got this penciled in at Dynasty. I don't think Cope's hanging on to the belt that long.
I think he has to either. I think it's all about this.
I don't think he has to either. I think he's very much more an important player on TV. Like doing like the Cope Open sort of thing and doing that with the belt for like a month is going to be really cool. We don't need to stick with that. Like I think DG's so hot right now. He needs that win.
Well,
do we think by Wembley?
If you're listening, you don't know.
Well, we know he is.
I don't know.
And the way they got to it,
but like, Tony Khan, if you are listening,
I ain't mad at either option. I ain't mad at all.
God bless our options being Shibata or Daniel Garcia. Actually, if Shibata wins, then I can get my Kyle O'Reilly rematch and Kyle O'Reilly can be TNT champion. So I might be with you on this.
My God. We're like jumping ahead lineages now. By Wembley Stadium, are Adam Copeland and Christian Cage a tag team?
Yes.
Probably. There's no way they don't circle back to that.
They've got to be, because I've had it logged in my fantasy booking for about 4 months now. So
they have what, 5 months until Wembley. So
I think
basically 4 months to get there. I think you can do it, especially because, like, with the way this match unfolded, I think you can do a thing where Christian's guys kind of desert him, and he realizes, like, well, you could do it either way. They could be a heel tag team, or they could be a babyface tag team, right? You could do it because I could see,
babyface.
What do you think, Chuck? Babyface?
Yeah, if they're going up against the Bugs, which is that is the match that I think that they probably will run at Wembley. Whether it's for the titles or not, I think that is a match that they probably have locked in. I think that Edge and Christian have got to be the faces in that. Because, listen, man, no matter where you put the Bucks at the moment, they're going to be booed because they're so good as heels. Adam Copeland is not getting booed in the UK. Not when he comes out to Metalingus.
Yeah,
it's going to be electric.
I agree. I think the way to do it is that Christian, like, his backup kind of deserts him and he has to, like, redeem himself. I think is probably the pitch, right? And that's what you do. You're sacrificing a lot there with Christian because he's so entertaining as a heel.
Yeah.
But you don't get, like...
It's worth it, man.
I agree. And I think the matches, by the way, will be, like, killer. I think that will be very, very special.
There's reports and there's rumors swirling. Could you imagine a babyface Adam Copeland and Christian Cage facing the Motor City Machine Guns?
Oh God.
Bring it on.
That actually, especially at this point, would probably be incredible.
Hey, Big
Because
Shelly,
those machine guns
Big
are
Saban,
like,
come home. The kids miss you.
if I'm very hesitant to think they're going to do anything but re-sign, but it does feel like there's some movement in that regard, right? Like initially, my response was they'll re-sign, but it does feel like there may be less. There may be less clear. They're trading the name. Demore's left. I think they're moving on here pretty soon, and if they are, it feels like AEW would be the favorite, right? I would assume. But anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Okay, folks, last call for super chats and things of that nature. There are no other things of that nature.
We do have one right now. Get to it quick. Jan Theodore, Canadian $2. Charlie, where's Toronto rank among the Graps crowds? As someone that has been in Toronto for a wrestling show within the last 12 months, I would put them as my second favorite place to be for a show, because Toronto is fucking awesome for wrestling shows. Great atmospheres, and I don't think anything will ever top the UK for me unless I make it out to Japan at some point. But yeah, Toronto is fucking incredible. I really, really love them as a wrestling crowd.
I always hear it's great, so it doesn't surprise me. You saw, obviously, that was a hell of a show and a hell of a match in particular, right? So
yeah,
awesome. Love to hear it, folks. Final call for super chats. We're going to quickly just talk some Rampage. We have to shout out the street fight, right? One of the great AEW traditions. When the women go absolutely berserk in a street fight, always pops me.
And I got to see one of them live.
There you go. Was it with the bunny one?
The bunny and the Taiji one, yeah.
That was the bunny match, right? That was like the official place in its history.
Yeah.
Julia Hart and Sky Blue, obviously Chris Statler and Will Nightingale. Again, Chris takes another fall here. Julia got the win, but
the Nightingale fall, she tapped too.
She tapped.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely. But this was, I mean, it was chaos. It was slightly terrifying at times. There was a moment early where they had something planned with Julia, where she was like within a chair. I forget the details, but it felt like someone was going to die.
Yeah, that was really scary. Like I thought that Willow was just going to like straight jump on her or something. I was just like, what are they planning?
I think Julia thought the same thing for a second. Yeah.
Yeah. She did look a little bit scared.
Yeah.
Like, God bless Julia for trying to for going crazy and being willing to take whatever the hell they were trying to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Good God.
There was a scary spot as well, where like Julia got suplexed onto the stack of chairs, and it gave me a flashback to like the other match that she got injured in on that very spot, and I was just like, oh God, I hope she's okay.
And then the Code Blue onto the announce table to Willow.
That was sick. That's the best Code Blue she's here.
Yeah, I mentioned Sky had a good performance. So this was a really good time, John. Anything to say on the Rampage main event last night?
They showed up and they showed out. Yeah. I was thoroughly entertained. Very good showing from Sky Blue. Very good showing from Julia. Very good showing for all of the women. And I like that they didn't just throw Mercedes in, because it would have been a dead giveaway. It gave those women their own, and I like that they didn't put her in the match, because it gave them that moment just to shine on their own without it being overshadowed. And they did that flawlessly. So I really liked
Absolutely. Yeah. Really positive, kind of just way to close the night. And I don't know where you guys stand. I'm not rushing for this to be a thing that happens again necessarily, or at least only on special occasions, the 3 hour block thing. It's just, I'd rather not. But we've mentioned it. Rampage was a good show, and this was a big part of that. Another part of it, Chuck, I think we have a super chat about the next match we should talk about, right?
Dude, Mazfan 84 199. Soup Rocky ruled. Rocky Loki, one of their best. He is one of like their best veterans in the locker room, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Very underrated talent.
It sounds dumb, because like it sounds like I'm suggesting he should be a mate, but like as a pure worker, he's like genuinely one of the best workers in wrestling. Like, and again, I know that like I'm not saying he should be the AEW World Champion though. Maybe but seriously,
maybe he should be TNT champion.
If you just watch his work, and part of the reason he's so good is you don't actually have to push him at all, right? He just he's valuable because how good he is. He is he's smooth, but his stuff still looks impactful.
Yeah.
Which allowed him, Takeshita could actually sell a little bit for him without it being phony or looking bad. So they had a hell of a match, Chuck, right? Takeshita and Rocky.
They did. I think I love the women's the tag street fight, but I think this was like my favorite straight up wrestling match of the night. They had really good chemistry, and Takeshita winning with like the spinning Falcon Arrow or whatever the fuck that final move was really sick. And like Rocky wrestled this match so smartly as well because he was targeting the elbow and like Takeshita's a big striker. Like there was a lot of smart wrestling in this, and it was very enjoyable. It was a really easy watch in a block of time that doesn't usually run 3 hours, and that's the sort of matches they needed on Rampage.
Yeah.
So good shit.
Yeah.
Shout out Big
Absolutely.
Stu. The book that will be written on Rocky Romero when it comes out, I'll be first in line to buy it because that shit is going to be so fascinating.
It is crazy. The story, like the way that his career has become like different things all at once, and incredibly, while he's this kind of big player as an executive, it's like I think he's actually as good as ever inside the ring still. Right? I mean, we see it in Mexico. Good God, the run he had last year in CMLL. So yeah, he's very valuable for this. Again, he's not somebody going to push necessarily, but he is someone that you got 10 minutes of TV time. Let's put Rock in there. He'll give him a good match, keep the people involved. So good stuff. Jana, any thoughts on Takeshita and Rocky?
Listen, Takeshita is one of my clients. I am so fond of that young man. He is so good at everything he does, and he delivers and delivers and delivers, and so does Rocky. But Takeshita, that's all I have to say. Everything he's in, he's done so well, and I love that. And I could see them this year, maybe not at this very moment, but this year, because the fans are already getting behind him so much, they're gonna strap him to that rocket very soon.
I think
and
so.
They need.
I think he's getting one of these belts that we've discussed tonight. One of these belts for fantasy book. I think he ends up with.
I do love they're keeping him in the conversation in the main picture right now with the Swerve match. Getting Ospreay's first official match in the company. He had a great match with Darby at the top of the year. Like you can tell they're trying to rectify all the bullshit that happened with him in 2023.
Yeah,
I don't think you can sweat the win-loss record either. Like, I'd rather he wrestle, swerve, and lose than just sit on the bench. You know, like get him in the ring. That's where he's most valuable. One slight negative. It's not that like super. I would have liked to see Fletcher and Hobbs advance in the.
Yeah, man, they're such a good tag team. I didn't expect them to not have good chemistry because of like we've seen them work together. But this tag was really fun. Like I was like, wow.
Yeah, because you know when you have two guys in the faction that aren't really doing all that much in singles, you just throw them as a tag team and it's like they're fine. Sure, they're in the same faction, but they shouldn't tag together like that. They were actually really fucking good and enjoyable.
Yeah, man.
Hey, Mark Davis.
Talk to you one-on-one.
Hey, man. Better get that elbow fixed, bro.
It's tough, dude. It's
I love Kyle Fletcher. Oh my God, he's so good. The fact that he's come into his own has really been so heartwarming to me. Like he's
definitely made the most of his TV time as of late. Absolutely.
He fixed the blonde as well. Very impressed.
That was very important.
It was giving like that new hairstyle. At first, it was giving the guy from Mr. Meaty. Do you know what
I don't know this reference. I'm terrified by it.
After the stream, search up Mr. Meaty, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. But now I like it. He's coming to his own, and it's great.
Yeah.
I like it.
Absolutely. It kind of feels like tag team wrestling is actually like a great use of Hobbs in a lot of ways. It highlights all of his strengths. But it doesn't require him to have like longer matches, right? Like he can just be an ass kicker, right? I don't know. I do wish they'd won here, but I should have known better because it was an Orange Cassidy TV match that he would, which is fine. I mean, Orange is great. I don't know.
He's no longer freshly squeezed.
He's not. He's not. But so who do they advance? Do we know they wrestle next? We obviously do, but I do not. I can't remember.
It will be Private Part. Oh, it's the Kingdom. Oh, I forgot they're on the bottom part of the bracket. Ignore me, I forgot that, man. I've just had them beat the Kingdom because I was just like, it's either Private Party or the Bucks.
You think they beat the Kingdom too and then lose to the Bucks?
Well, this could be the Trent turn that I've been predicting for 7 years. So, because I thought that Trent was joining the Kingdom, so.
I thought he was going to join Rocky because it wasn't lost on me that they had all the rest of the Cows family on the same show. And if they both all had lost, it would have added some more frustration internally between Orange Cassidy and Rocky and Trent. But I guess not.
Right.
You know,
I will
knows?
say the Young Bucks versus Orange and Trent, I think could be a killer match. To be fair, I think that's what they'll do because the Bucks are beating Private Party, and
Yeah.
they don't want to do the
I
Bucks
think
and
it'd be
Kingdom,
more
right?
inspired to have the Bucks lose again to Private Party, like throwback to 2019 sort of thing. But if
I don't
my
know.
issue with this tournament is that it feels so formulaic because it really, really feels like we're heading towards Bucks FTR again, and I'm very scared
Yeah.
about it because I don't want to see that match again yet. Like,
I
let it breathe.
think
bro.
we're going to be okay. I get it completely, but I think the key to that matchup is the Bucks being the heels, and I think
Yeah.
that's why the second match worked. I think the last time where they were doing like a babyface match, I just don't think it worked. And that, to be clear, I said that's what they should do. It just didn't work.
Yeah.
I also think it will be helped by the fact that like it's a tournament final, so they don't have to do like a build necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where a lot of the issue. Yeah, exactly right. But I do get your point, Joe. And I'll say that like I think the Bucks need to win the tournament, so that's why I think they need to beat Private Party. I do think they may do something. I mean, it sounds insane. But I'm not writing off the infantry in that match, dude. Like
I'm not either.
I think it is totally in play. They could win that match. What that will look like and how that will go, I do not know.
Imagine if it happens just like the Guns title match they had. They try to do intricate stuff that's not like to their strength at all.
Yeah, it'll be.
And they do have a built-in story with that. Oh, it's the race to the first ever 3-time tag champions. It's like, I don't know. Maybe I have Wembley fucking PTSD at the rate because of that match was not what I wanted it to be.
See, I don't blame it there. Plus, the vibes were just so weird because of other stuff.
Everything.
Plus,
Wheeler's got a gun, got a gun.
That was crazy.
So funny. But like the tournament, like I get people's frustrations with it. It's very much emblematic of AEW tournaments in general, outside the Continental Classic and the first tag tournament, and I think the first eliminator tournament, where it's like, you know who's winning, I know who's winning, Tony Khan knows that you know who's winning, so we're gonna book this in a way where we make it as obvious as humanly possible, if you pay attention, that the outcome that you think is happening is going to happen.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I will say we speak about it often, but it's like on that Dynasty card, if that's where the finals are going to be, that lineup's going to be stacked. So everyone's got to be on their A game. You know, like
that card is insane the way it's looking right now.
It is, and I think that again we say it every week right now. I liked Dynamite, especially the main event. I didn't love the whole show, but I like most of the directions. And when you like where they're going, it's a lot easier to be like, I didn't love that, but whatever, right? So that was kind of the main takeaway for me. Jana, any final thoughts on Dynamite plus Rampage if you want, but just kind of Dynamite in particular? What do you think of the show overall?
Never do a 3-hour show. We have surpassed the need for 3-hour shows. I feel like it was solid. Was it as strong as last week? No, but I feel like this was more so an episode of Dynamite for building up, like, and setting foundations and building. I'm looking forward to next week, though. I know that that's going to be really good, and I'm anxious to see like what Mercedes does next week. If maybe she announces like a match or something. It was pretty solid. I feel like everybody's going to find their footing again, and it's going to be just pushing forward and seeing like the new storylines that could come from the fallout of everything that's happened. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Marcus, final thoughts, mate, on the show?
I enjoyed it quite a bit. Like the wrestling on Rampage was far superior. But again, like the whole Dynamite experience was basically setting things up, and it was broad strokes accomplishments where Okada gets a belt, Cope, finally overcomes Christian. You set up a tiebreaker match against Takeshita with Swerve. You set up, Private Party and the Bucks are going to wrestle next week on Dynamite, and they're part of the tag tournament. And then on Rampage, you got crazy wrestling. You got the blow off to the Stat Willow and Spooky Girls feud. You got a great Takeshita match to keep them strong for next week. So I was encouraged. But again, the 3 hours thing was cool for this one-time thing, and the occasional stuff where things had to get preempted. But it's like eating sweets, bro. It's cool once in a while, but if you do it consistently, you're gonna get diabetes. Please don't do it.
It's definitely something. It's a play call, special occasions. Like this one's a little bit more complex because they do 2 hours. But you know when they do like Grand Slam previously.
Yeah.
Grand Slam, I could see doing a 3-hour TV special. I think that would actually in some ways be better than doing 2 hours on Friday. But I definitely agree. Let's not make this let's not get in a habit of this for sure.
Yeah, let's keep our composure here.
It is true. Also, the chat mentioned no collision on Saturday, so I'll be mourning the loss of
man.
no colliding ahead of us. But nonetheless, Chuck, what did you make
I think this week's Dynamite was another case of I didn't love everything they did in the ring, but the vibes were great, so I had a great time watching it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of been a lot of the story for some Dynamite in 2024. It's been very middle of the road TVs that have had really good vibes, so people have been really up for it. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. You can't be like having killer cards every single week. Like it's just, I mean, it is kind of sustainable with this roster because they have such a deep roster, but the way that Tony Khan's booking at the moment, he would like, it just wouldn't work properly, I don't think. Now that they're like doing more story to build to the pay-per-views, like you can't just be smacking out these cards. But yeah, for what it was, I really enjoyed it. I agree. I co-sign the whole 3-hour thing. I can do the occasional specials. I cannot do this on a weekly basis because it might kill me off, to be honest. So
yeah, it's also, I do think it's worth noting too, like, because to your point about how sustainable it is, in fairness, I think, you know, part of our review being a little lower than maybe some is we all thought Eddie and Okada could have been better, right? So like the matchmaker kind of did his part there, and it just sometimes it won't quite go as well as you. So it happens. It's not a big deal. I'm sure as we review more Okada TV matches, he'll kind of get in the swing of things. But all right, folks, that brings an end to our Dynamite review. I have some plugs, and then we'll go around the room and get everyone else's. So yesterday I had a little match review video over on Joe Holbert Promotions, which was pretty cool. Immediately have been given a lawsuit by the World Wrestling Federation. I'll be fighting that in court for the coming weeks, but you can still watch it if you're in certain countries. So if it works for you, God bless. If not, please contact Jean-Paul Levesque. Nonetheless, that's out on Joe Holbert Promotions. There'll be a Holbert House show at some point, but also the Late Night Grin is live tomorrow after, well, not after Rampage, because Rampage is on, but 11:05 Eastern over on the Late Night Grin channel. Marcus, anything to plug and promote, mate? Go for it.
Nothing really to promote other than, again, just tune into the watch-alongs on Wednesdays and Saturdays when we do them, and, of course, the pay-per-views. We have a whole lot of fun doing them, and I hope y'all have fun watching us, you know, react to wrestling.
Absolutely. You have some football business too, Marcus, right? Something to see on the feed, making towns elsewhere, right?
Oh, yeah. My podcast is Swamp Inside Florida Athletics. So for those that watch college football, you know, I am a big Florida Gators football fan, and I do a podcast with my boys, Jerry and AB over there. We have interviews with people on the football team and people throughout the athletic program. And last week we had an interview with wide receiver Aiden Mizell on the channel. So make sure y'all go follow Inside_Swamp to go and check that out. Our YouTube there, and we got some more coming for y'all.
Beautiful. I know nothing about the subject matter, but it seems to be you get some pretty heavy hitters that pop me. So there you go, folks. Go check that out. Support Marcus. Jana, anything to promote? Anything to plug?
Tune in to the Raw review. Follow my Twitter, I guess, and get WrestlePurists YouTube channel to 5K subscribers. If you do that, we'll be very best friends. And if anyone could screen record a clip of what Joe was talking about earlier, where Fight TV asked Stage and he quit when the screen blacks out, please send that to. Well, don't send it. My DMs are closed because you guys are kind of weird. At me on Twitter, okay? At me on Twitter at Viva Lejano. And yeah,
tremendous. Great to have you both on the Thursday.
Yes.
And Chuck, feel free to promote anything you have to plug and then take us home. Go for it.
Do I have anything to plug? Girls and Grabs is more than likely back on Sunday. Not sure what time yet, but follow the Girls and Grab Twitter. We will keep you updated on there. And follow me on Twitter because I'm posting something kind of different tomorrow that I don't really post. I'm posting some art that I did. And I'm very proud of it. So you guys should go look at that when I post it because it's a little bit different to me. A lot of people aren't aware of the fact that I can actually draw. So this is going to be really interesting to see what the reception is. But yeah, that's it, I think. Are we ready to wrap up? Ready to get out of it?
We are indeed, folks. Yeah.
tune in. Sorry, go watch Isra's interview with
Yes,
Stokely.
yes.
The
Watch the
Stokely.
Sophie Hathaway interview. It is
Yes.
up on the
It's a
channel.
really good video.
It was a really
Yeah.
good interview, really candid. They had great chemistry on stream. It was a really good watch. I think you guys should absolutely tune into
Absolutely.
that.
Definitely.
And
Yes.
you know, the usual, like, subscribe, please leave an actual comment on the video
Yeah.
after it goes up. You guys normally leave them in the live stream chat afterwards, and it's like, we love you for it, but please put your praise in the comments. All that algorithm stuff, you know how it goes.
Yes.
And I think we are out of here. See you next time.